Hey, what's happening, everybody? Welcome, welcome, welcome to the 8R Stars Cup Battle of the Regions Group Stage Finals for South Asia. And we've got 5 rounds of action, mayhem, and strategy coming your way today. But first and foremost, for those of you who aren't quite acquainted as to who I am, I'm Red Eyes, your ever lovable and adorably cuddly caster, bringing you that daily dosage of butt kickery, tomfoolery, and all-around shenaniganism. And we have a stacked lobby for you today, boys and girls. We've got the likes of, pardon me, we got a crazy format here too. Now we have the group finals today here, but to get to this point, they had to go through 2 days of gruesome playoff matches of 6 matches a day just to work their way up here to the group finals, and 5 matches a day for 3 days. And it all comes down to this: who wants it? Because we've got, as I said, 17 to 18 teams competing, but only 3 teams are going to move forward to the grand finals. And while we do have a whopping $6,200 in the prize pool, that is only just a taste of the dinner to come. Now, we're working with the standard PMSL scoring structure here: 10 points for first, 6 for second, 5 for third, 4th for fourth, etc., and so on. Lots of money to be had here on the table. Now, before I forget, we've got some absolute heavy hitters here today, ladies and gentlemen. We got Villain Sir, Fabulous 4, Raw, CMF, Seal Esports, INMPX. We got Inimical Monk Esports, Viking Astad Gaming, TMT DC. We got Undergang, Stronger Esports, High Voltage Nepal, TMT XIVIT. We got the I8 Crew. We got ZC GSM. We got Meteor Shot Star. Just absolute heavy hitters. We've even got the Dead Eyes guys and Raw Esports Nepal. So I'm expecting nothing but action right off the bat. And you already know the map that we're going to be starting things off with, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be kicking it off with none other than Erangel, the very first map ever introduced to PUBG Mobile. Now, this is the map that our players should absolutely be most acquainted with, most practiced on, built up their synergy, and most comfortable in, as it was the first map ever to be brought into the game. It's definitely the one that I expect the participants to really know the geographical advantages, the good hills, good divots, when natural cover isn't afforded to you, where you can get your advantages. But before I forget, ladies and gentlemen, make sure to give a follow to the 8R organization on all social media platforms and support local and international PUBG Mobile esports. Now, as I said, we'll be starting it off with Erangel, but that's only the first of 2 Erangels, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to be rocking at 2 Erangels, 2 Miramars, and just to add a little spice and flavor, we'll throw in 1 Sandhawk to keep you on your toes. And I could not be more excited today. Now, coming from the North America region, I find myself a little bit of a fresh observer. You know, I'm not as acquainted with some of these teams as the local commentators are. So this is a really great opportunity for me to really see a lot of the differences in regional advantages here. But kicking things off, interesting flight path to start things off. Not terrible, not great. It's not going to be perfectly central, but it's going to be close enough to the central median of the map that I think it's going to leave majority of drop spots, at least the more advantageous drop spots, up for grabs. And already we can see a lot of teams dropping down early. We see several teams going towards the Severny region. We see MS. We got the TMT crew as well. A little further towards the North Georgia region, it looks like I8 is going to be occupying that, and it doesn't look like they're going to have to contest with anyone for the North Georgia buildings. However, they might have a potential altercation in the works from South Georgia pole. It looks to me like Lipovka might get a little bit of loving as well. Pachinki, as to be expected, going to be getting that early game hotspot confrontation between the likes of VS, PX, and maybe even some members of Raw. It looks like the military base is also going to be contested, probably between members of Undergaming, and I cannot see who. It looks like CMF, pardon me, will be duking it out there. And that's going to be an early contestation for resources for sure. And already we see bullets flying. We got MS Star Fury here just trying his best to get some early loot here, trying to equip himself with what weaponry he can. And at this point, it's more so out of necessity than preference. He can't really be too picky this early on. But as I say that, Wanted finding himself with a Honey Badger UMP combo. Not a bad start, especially for that close quarter confrontation. Getting eyes on the boys in High Voltage Nepal. AK-47 already in hand with a Scar L as a secondary. That is a lucky find, and good thing, because he's got members of MS just across the street. You see Tabby and Funk and Wanted all holding position, utilizing that little miniature wall for cover. But boy, Sujandai is not going to be fooled for a second. He is all too aware of their location and going to try to pull a flank rotation if possible. Satara ready and waiting with that CQC Annihilator, that close quarter combat UMP ready to go. But talking about close quarters, Corrido coming in, Scar L. He didn't even have to use the double barrel. Oh my goodness, the DBS, pardon me. He didn't even have to use the DBS. That Scar L was enough to do the job for him. And already getting his first elimination and the team's first as well. That is going to give Seal the first point and elimination of the match. Quickly going to regain his health with a little bit of a boost. We got Zephos here, perched on the rooftop, ready and waiting with that 6X. Corrido just holding position, playing the waiting game. And at this point, this close in proximity to their opponents, it's definitely going to be a little bit of a battle of patience here, as we see ZC not far off from the crew in Seal. We got Rafat ready and waiting, just biding his time, trying to utilize this little bit of downtime to give himself a little bit more resources, stock up on ammo, get some 7.62 for that DP-28. Admiral just trying to do a little bit of the same, and this is to be expected early game, especially in a long-standing tournament, late stage event, especially as it's the final day for the group stage. You know, this is where our participants leave it all out on the table with $6,200 in the prize pool for all the regions combined. You know, there's a lot of money on the table just for this stage alone, and that doesn't even begin to put out what sort of money opportunities and prize winning opportunities are in store for winning the actual finals, the grand finals. This is a ton of extra moolah here on the table, and our participants do not want to lose their shot at it. And Corrido trying to turn Rafat into a little burning candle here, throwing those mollies, but it is to no avail, no damage, no connection. However, his buddy Scooby can finish what he started, and that is a takedown on Rafat. Corrido cannot be too eager for that thirst, because in doing so, he could leave himself vulnerable to the other member of ZC, that's Exa. Oh, wow, and a monster nade right there as Amison is down like a bad habit. Taken down, and the odds are even just a little bit here. Corrido is now set on ablaze as well. That candle is burning bright, but Corrido gonna use this little opportunity to try to heal up with what bandages he can, enshrouding his teammate in a cloud of smoke and trying to go for a desperate revive. Levy, the final hope here now for ZC, is gonna have to play this very carefully. Now, all things considered, you know, if you are Levy in this position, the opportunities for escaping are pretty slim, as he's just outnumbered, outmanned, and outgunned. But he is able to get a takedown. Can he secure the thirst? Well, it does not look like he's going to have to prioritize that. And I gotta say, I agree with his decision here. He's got to just stay ready and try to heal up if he can, waiting atop of the staircase and trying to make those numbers in the opposition not outweigh him as much as possible. He was going for that 300 tactic where, you know, they can't all flood up the staircase at once, but realistically, at the end of the day, it's still a 3v1, outnumbered, outmanned, and outgunned. But what a good effort for his last stand. But no time to waste as we catch eyes on the Deadeyes guys here in Rozhawk, just trying to loot up, and it does not look like they're going to have anyone to contest with or worry about at the given moment. So right now, it's just smooth sailing for the Deadeyes guys. No kills to their name yet, but it's still very early on in the match. We still have 67 participants remaining spread across 17 teams. And now catching eyes on Sir here, trying to reunite with his teammates, just trying to stay somewhat close together. Maybe not too grouped, but not so far apart that they can't assist their teammates if trouble arises. Getting eyes on Raw Esports, we got, well, the name could not be more straightforward. Zordy and Sleepy from Raw. Holding position, we got Raw as the little security guard on the roof here. 3x ready and waiting, scoping out, not seeing any threats. And so right now, it's just a little bit of downtime, as to be expected in a match like Erangel, especially at this stage. Now, Erangel is realistically the perfect middle ground between Miramar and Sandhawk, because it's got a little bit of everything. It's got a lot of open space for the more sniper-intensive distance battles, but a lot of close-quarter congested cities for that close-quarter combat, more action-packed, up front, in-your-face action. And already we're seeing I-8 Domain securing a knock on the opposition in TMT DC, and it does not look like he needs to worry about prioritizing that thirst. It doesn't look like anyone's going to be able to secure any revives there. Now, Arrow just desperately needing to heal up here, finding himself just below half health, going to utilize that energy drink while he can. And off in the distance, Star Tabby getting some takedowns of his own against the likes of High Voltage, and the nades come raining down, and boom goes the dynamite, all too literally. And just like that, MS Star working their way up to 4 eliminations, spread evenly between Tabby and Fury. And these guys are in full swing. The synergy is going and flowing, and these boys are warmed up. TMT firing outwards at the likes of I-8 crew. We see Kokum trying his best to keep the opposition domain of I-8 held at bay, but not really getting any connecting damage. That's okay. I don't really think damage was the point so much as just keeping the pressure on him. Domain, a great example of utilizing geographical cover here. He's got a nice high ground overwatch position, but that geographical boulder separating him from any bullet fire, it's a nice position to have. Domain and Viper, or pardon me, Admiral and Viper trying to pull a vehicle rotation flankward up the hill, maybe even reunite with their teammates and get a little taste of that overwatch action. But yeah, a little bit of downtime is to be expected, especially on a map like Erangel. Here we have it though, TMT and MS Star having at it right here. Reflex taking a little bit of damage. Tonmoy trying to get some utility damage in, and it looks like the nade did crash down on Defunct, taking him down to a third, taking him down to 10%, and then there's the knock. 3 nades, get it done, you know. If at first you don't succeed, try again. Well, that is going to put Tabby and Wanted in a very uncomfortable position. But Tabby firing away with those quick reflexes, getting Tonmoy off. But he still has a 2v3 altercation to worry about. And just like that, Danger, Reflex, and their third teammate ready and waiting. But that DBS CQC Annihilator doing what it does. That one-shot close quarter is all it takes to take him down. Tabby trying to add on to it, but downed himself. So it's all down to Wanted trying to make his last stand here with an M4 DBS combo. 25 bullets remaining in the chamber here. And a DBS versus a DBS, it's going to be a quick one. And just like that, the deed is done, and TMT is going to come out victorious now with 4 eliminations to their name. Lots of congestion here, but as the zone has shifted, it's going to be a northwestern orientation that's going to give a lot of love into the Georgia Pole compounds, both north and south. as well as that crate region, maybe even a little potential loving towards the coastal region up north. All right, well, INM firing away at some of their actual clanmates here. Javid taking the bullet fire, raining bullets down, but not getting much connecting damage. But what his teammate couldn't do, Sharp can. And there it is, just like that, Javid is down. Viper taking out Machine in the distance. Sharp desperately trying to secure that thirst, and those bullets will do the deed. I'm pretty sure he's got him low enough, and I think the deed is done. It is. And that'll be Sharp's first elimination, I believe, and taking the team up to 3. And oh, I hope you believe in karma, because I know he does. He has no time to celebrate as he is brought right down to prone zone. Getting knocked real quick. Well, Arabi in a 1v2 altercation. His teammate Sharp a little too far off here. And interesting decision on Arabi to try to utilize a utility nade in that CQC that close to the opponents. And it was ultimately his downfall. And that's going to leave Sharp as the final hope for his team. Now, I-8 still clinging to Viper and Admiral, and it's going to be a bit of the waiting game for them. And speaking of the waiting game, we've got members of Viking Ostad here playing it quite safe. We see a sneaky little Michael Phelps, a water snake here, going by D9, and he is going to be very, very hidden, not drawing any attention to himself. Well, ruh-oh, Scooby. Ajaya gets the takedown right there and then, but they still have more members of Seal Esports to worry about. But maybe, I say worry, but as I do, Corrido taking Jimmy of Undergaming out. The odds have been even for sure. Corrido utilizing that high ground beautifully, and his teammate Amison going to join him up, but they still have this 2v2 altercation, and will they take it on? I'm not sure, because Undergaming has a split approach surrounding him on both sides, but Ajaya getting the takedown with the DBS right there and then, and Corrido firing uphill with that Bison. That 53-round clip is not going to be enough to undo what the DBS did. And Ajaya with a monster performance, securing 3 eliminations in the last minute and a half. He is responsible for 75% of the team's kills, and they still have 3 members up and about. As long as they can get Genius up and about, they should be able to keep going on with a fairly solid team. All right, Degree joining his teammates here in CMF Esports. Every man for himself vehicle tactic. Now that comes with a set of advantages and disadvantages. The advantages are obvious. While you're not all going to be taken out in a single spray from your opponent, the disadvantage is very much present as well and can't be disregarded. The fact that you don't have a teammate in the passenger seat to fire and retaliate if you are fired upon leaves each member fairly vulnerable. But is it worth it in the everyman for himself vehicle approach? I think that varies on a case-by-case basis, but with this much money on the prize pool and this lengthy of a tournament format, I think it is probably the best move in this situation to diversify your resources and not put all your coins in one pocket, so to speak. Well, the Deadeyes guys playing a very slow match this round. They have been playing a bit of the waiting game, and that's, you know, fairly understandable. As I said, with this much money in the prize pool, you definitely don't want to be giving up any easy eliminations to your opponents. And that late game, in-game match, you know, it doesn't really concern me too much if you don't have a ton of eliminations in the first half of the match. But as we reach that end game and that zone shrinks and our participants have less and less real estate to choose from, well, we all know the nature of PUBG. It's going to be all-out bloodbath warfare, and we might be due for a little bit of it coming very soon, as I can see the Fabulous Four rotating northeast just above the likes of CMF Esports. CMF could be in a bit of a peanut butter and trouble sandwich, as they have members of TMT just beneath them as well. So with TMT beneath and Fab 4 above, they're going to need to play it fairly smart, as I say that, I choke on the caster's curse as TMT pulls an outward flank and giving CMF a little bit more breathing room in that regard. I8 Viper using this opportunity to work his way into the zone from the North Georgia Pole region. Raw Esports, we got Assassin here with a 3x M4 in hand, firing outwards at Inimical Monk. Not getting a lick of connecting damage, but keeping the pressure on his opponents and utilizing that geographical cover of the divot at hand. Which brings me to a great point, ladies and gentlemen. When your buildings and wall cover are few and far between, that's when it really comes down to knowing the geographical assets of each map, knowing the good hills and divots, knowing where you can have your overwatch, where you can park your vehicle, and it really is going to be kind of the difference maker between life and death, especially in an in-game. Look at the likes of CMF, you know, this divot could have been all that separated them from open bullet fire from a 360-degree open field where the only building cover is this tiny shack. So that is what I'm saying is it's definitely very important to know every geographical advantage when they are afforded to you. And never a map should be more rehearsed and more practiced than Erangel. Well, speaking of just a bit of the waiting game, we got Deadeye's guys Precious here in a bit of a low ground disadvantage, taking a little bit of warning shots from the high ground, but not taking any damage here. Getting eyes on Raw Esports. Looks like they are going to have that it with the other members of Deadeye's guys. It's going to be a battle of utilities between Arrow and his opponent behind him. And just like that, Arrow has been reduced down to the final hope for his team, enshrouding himself in a cloud of smoke and trying to utilize what cover he can. That nice little hill ledge is going to be blocking a couple bit of bullets. DBS in hand, but taking a fall, and oof, that definitely ended up costing him his life right there, as Clauser had just enough distance for that DBS shot to not implement enough damage for the takedown. Yeah, if he hadn't fallen, I think he would have been so close that one shot would have been an immediate knock. Well, Precious, with a nice little bit of wall cover, 3x M4 in hand, keeping eyes on his opponents off in the distance in TMT XIVIT. Now, currently, the Deadeye's guys clinging to 4 kills, half of which go to Nova. Not a bad start. Fair number of eliminations. And getting closer and closer to that in-game mark. Now, this is around the stage where I think the numbers are going to start dwindling much quicker. As our participants have less room to choose from, it's going to be forced into close quarter confrontation here. And that's where we see those numbers just decline, plummet, if you will. And look at this zone. It's shifted, really favoring one team, and that's going to be the likes of CMF in a perfectly central position. But here's the question I'm going to raise to you, ladies and gentlemen. In this particular instance, is CMF's position that advantageous with this much open field around them on all sides, not much building area, and having a bit of a low ground around that shooting range? It could leave them vulnerable from all sides. Well, Undergang here, getting eyes on the likes of TMT DC. We see Spike ready and waiting with that 4x, M4, his teammate with the 4x M4 as well. Keeping the pressure outwards. Looks like Viper from I8 getting a takedown off in the distance. Yep, we got Inimical Monk Esports Lukashi here, desperately trying to get to a position of cover, reunite with his teammates, and boy, does he make it in the last split second. That vehicle was basically a ticking time bomb, but does get behind the building, get a little cover, and going to be able to heal up. Igneous with that DBS in hand. Oof! The nades come crashing down. Hellfire raining upon him. Nightwing and the remainder of TMTDC ready for a fight here. And this is a fight that's all in their favor. They definitely outnumber Undergang. And just like that, it's down to Ajaya. But we saw Ajaya earlier this match with that 3-kill streak. Well, it's not going to be enough to take down Fear. The only thing to fear is fear itself. himself, I should say. Well, Clauser working on the Fab 4 off in the distance. We got Nova of Deadeyes getting Tycoon, and yes, he does secure the thirst. Fab 4 just swallowing the bullets and taken down to the lobby. Well, Inimical facing quite a bit of hurt too. They are down to 2 members. Yes, they are down to 2 members here, but with 4 elims to their name, they've put in some pretty good work here for the first match of the day, and we still have 4 matches ahead of us. Viper! He is a snake that is outnumbered, but with a DBS, he almost did it. But Xavi, the final hope for his team, able to secure the job, but it took 3 of them. Boy, Viking Ostad was holding their breath there for just a moment. Catching eyes on the likes of TMTDC, Kokum going to use this opportunity to enshroud himself in a cloud of smoke. He's got a member of SEAL pretty close by, I think. I might have been misreading that. Yes, I was. But he does have 2 other teams nearby. It looks like CMF as well as a member of CMF as well as a member of TMTDC nearby. Getting eyes on Cursed. It's Cursed versus Xavi in a battle of utilities. Xavi gonna enshroud himself in that smoke, but Cursed has a nade with Xavi's name on it. Gonna try to turn him into a burning candle. It does do some significant damage, taking Xavi down to just above 50% health. Oh, pardon me, Xing Chen, I apologize. Chen gonna be able to get that boost off, but I am surprised that he wasn't pushed on immediately there. Raw with that DBS, beautifully taken, getting that elimination, just aggressively pushing forward alongside his teammates. That number advantage working in their favor, but Reflex getting reflexed upon, and now Raw Esports coming out victorious. Up to 5 elims, and get this, ladies and gentlemen, Zordy responsible for 80% of the team's kills so far. Well, we're down to 5 teams spread across 14 players. TMTDC, a little bit of a spread out approach. It looks like a 2-1-1 split here, and maybe not that necessary in this position, because their real most immediate threat, I would say, would have to be Xing Chen of Viking Ostad, but at this point, Chen is a solo, I believe. So that's with our spectators 2020 hindsight vision here, and our teammates don't, or our participants don't really know what we know. But here we have it, guys. Look at this. CMF Esports still holding on to that little divot there. They haven't had to move in quite some time. That geographical advantage is working in full favor for them. Kokum, still a member of a full 4-squad team of TMTDC. They have the numbers in their favor, and you cannot place enough emphasis on being a full team come in-game. It can be the absolute difference maker between a chicken dinner and, let's say, second or third. Well, Electro taking out Jiggle from Raw, and here we have it. Zordy with a DBS in hand, dishing out the damage, and look at that! They just trade lobby trips right there. Both of them getting sent back to lobby, and then the high ground advantage going to CMF, getting that third-party kill steal. Beautifully done. 9, wasting no time, and look at the CMF operating in full form with 13 eliminations to their name, with a 14th elimination potentially on the way if they can secure the thirst, and they do. Wow, these guys are on a absolute berserker warpath here. They have the taste of blood on the tip of their tongue, and they are out hungry for a chicken dinner. Knight finding himself outnumbered, outmanned, outgunned, and swimming in a pool of CMF Esports members. It is not looking ideal for him. Speaking of not really ideal, the Deadeyes guys reduced down to a 2-person team of Nova and Claw, and this is not all that concerning that they have been a 2-person team for a little while now. But Nova Sir going to try to utilize a little high ground here, but in shooting, he basically sent out a honing beam to members of CMF above him, letting them know his location, and that could be quite a vulnerable disadvantage given how spread CMF actually is in this position. Well, Rampage doing what Rampage does, but Now we are down to our final two teams. It's going to be CMF versus the Deadeyes guys, but oh, it's almost a wasted effort there. Deadeyes guys hung tight and hung in there all the way to second, but that immediate takedown was just not expected. Unbelievable performance from the likes of CMF Esports. Absolutely dominating round one. Goodness, high double-digit kills, and just for record here, we have Degree as the MVP of the highest scoring team, responsible for just under half of the team's kills. Look at that, 7 eliminations, putting up almost 9 knocks worth of damage. And look at this, ladies and gentlemen, only needs to heal for 78. That's not even a full first aid of health right there. So realistically, this guy, what these numbers tell me is that he is an absolute berserker. He is not afraid to take his fights on. He is not afraid of a confrontation, and he does not swallow many bullets in return. Look at this. Most elims to Degree. Second most elims to another member of CMF. It's going to go to 6ix9ine with 6 elims. And then also Sui from Raw putting up 4 kills for the 3rd place position. Not bad. Absolutely monstrous performance to kick off the day. And that's just our first match of Erangel. We still have another Erangel ahead of us. And look at this. With 18 elims, that is going to bring CMF to 28 points in just one match. That is, to put it into perspective, ladies and gentlemen, Deadeyes, who holds second place, has literally only half of the points that CMF does. They literally double second place. Absolute huge lead. A lot of slack in the rope for CMF, which is going to give them some wiggle room moving forward. A little slack in the rope means that they have a little room to make errors. A couple mistakes, that's okay at this point. Well, look at this. In the overall stats from the inception of this event, there's 67 elims here, 142 nades thrown, 8 rescues, 4,442 amount of points healed up, 4 airdrops looted. This is an impressive performance by Viper. 58 knockouts, and of those 58, 14 were headshots with a 384-meter snipe. That's almost out of rendering distance. Boy, these guys are absolutely bending the limits of what's possible in PUBG Mobile. And as I said, ladies and gentlemen, that's just one match down. We still have 4 matches of action, mayhem, and strategy coming ahead of us. Now, we've seen our participants on the first map ever of Erangel, but that's the one they're supposed to be most acquainted with. What is going to happen when we move things open to a much more wide open sniper and distance fight intensive map? I am, of course, speaking of the dry, arid regions of Miramar. Well, only time will tell as we move forward to match 2 of 5 of the 8R Stars Cup Group Stage Finals for South Asia. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to be back in just a few short moments, but in this downtime, please, please, please be sure to follow the 8R organization on all social media platforms and support PUBG Mobile esports events, community and official. Anything to keep this esports scene thriving, please do. All right, ladies and gentlemen, well, that's just one match down. Unbelievable performance, absolute bloodbath warfare. 4 matches ahead of us. We still have a lot of action, and as I said, that dry, open, arid region is going to be a lot different as we move forward. We'll be back in just a few short moments for round 2 of 5 of the 8R Stars Cup Battle of the Regions. Stick around, be back soon. Well, alrighty, everybody, we are back. We are back with round 2 of 5 of the 8R Stars Cup Battle of the Regions group stage finals for South Asia. And it is time for a little devastation in the desert as we move forward into Miramar. Now, we saw our participants in the first map ever, Erangel. But as I said at the beginning of today, that's the map that they should be most acquainted with, most familiarized with, and most rehearsed on. Now it's time to change up the scenery a bit to the dry, arid, open regions of Miramar. Now, anytime you switch up a map and switch up the geography, you have to switch up the strategy. And as Miramar is a much more distance intensive map, much more open range, you have to be on a little bit of a higher alert of not just your immediate surroundings, but your distant surroundings as well. Now, this is a map that is very dependent upon the flight path to determine what sort of early game we end up getting. And here we see it. It is a fairly centralized path, definitely blessing our participants with a ton of drop spot options, tons of compounds and cities to choose from. Now, what does that mean for us, the viewer? Well, potentially a bit of a slower start. As we know to be the nature of PUBG Mobile, you know, with this much open field to cover, yeah, it could be a little bit of a slower start with this much space between teams. But you know what I always say, ladies and gentlemen, as is to be the nature of PUBG Mobile esports, a more passive early game is always going to translate to a more action-packed and climactic mid or end game. So it'll be worth the trade if you ask me. But it looks like we might actually get a potential altercation early on. Yeah, we've got the likes of I&M facing off with Villain Sir already. Arabi firing away. He's got an opponent just outside the building as he tries to secure some early stage weaponry. We got Sinks here. I hope I'm seeing that correct. Oh boy, the Deadeyes guys clinging to a utility. We got Yetawuda holding off at the ready here, just at the other end. All he has is an MK12 to defend himself with. Luckily, his teammate Nova providing a little bit of overwatch with an AK-47, and another teammate Claw holding position with that Scar L. Ooh, Precious with this CQC Annihilator, a UMP-45. And look at this, Arabi M249 at the ready. That LMG could be the difference maker between life and death, especially in an early stage altercation where he could have a 75 to 150 round clip. Well, a personal favorite of mine, and I'm sure that all the viewers are going to cringe when I say it, but I love the VSS. Unfortunately, I will say the VSS not the most ideal of snipers for Miramar, especially not without an extended mag. When you can only have a 10 round clip in it, it's definitely not the ideal choice for an early game altercation, but as we know, it's more so out of necessity than preference this early on. Well, Arabi holding position. He is just one floor below a member of the Deadeyes guys. Yeah, he's got Yetta just above him. And if he knew what sort of weaponry Yetta was working with, I think Arabi would have made the push upwards by now. Yetta only with a MK12 in hand. He's going to have to single tap to defend himself here. Oh, Arabi fires away at Claw, but outnumbered, outmanned, outgunned, and it was easy pickings. That's going to leave Sharp as the only hope here. His only remaining teammate, Sazid, is way too far away to help, and even so, not a bullet to defend. Oh, I apologize. He had to get that reload. And doesn't even matter because as he tries to fire outward, he is just sent right down to prone zone and right on back to lobby with a first-class ticket. And just like that, Deadeyes guys working their way up to their first 4 kills of the game. Very phenomenal start for the Deadeyes guys, and they didn't lose a member in the process. All right, no time to waste as TMT DC faces off with some clanmates in TMT XIV. And look at that. Knight securing, oh, pardon me. Yep, it's Knight securing the first elimination for the team and going to be able to get the revive on his fallen teammate Nightwing. XOXO holding position with a Tommy gun, trying to get a line of sight on the opposition here. Now, I don't know how to pronounce that name, but if anyone knows in chat, be sure to let me know. But it's good that EXO is a bit hesitant here, because off in the distance we can see Reflex holding the a separate angle, trying to get another line of sight on him. So it's good that he's not giving any easy, vulnerable eliminations to the opponent there. Gonna have to play a little bit of a waiting game. Nightwing gonna use this opportunity to heal up, try to get as much health back up as possible. We still have 67 participants on the board, spread across 17 teams. Tons of action ahead of us here for round 2 of 5 of the 8R Stars Cup Battle of the Regions Group Stage Finals for South Asia. All right. Reflex, UMP 45 in hand, holding position. And look at this. Ajaya not fooled for a second. He knows that the opposition in Stronger Esports, Tom77, is perched on that roof, ready and waiting. And he is not going to give Tom the luxury of peeking. Well, looks like Igneous is going to push up, keeping the pressure on Tom. And Ajaya, the pressure from the distance, he is really working alongside his teammates. This is a great strategy, keeping one coin in the back pocket here. One guy hangs back, provides the overwatch, and relays all the scouting info to the team, the remainder of the team that pushes up. So it's a nice 3-1 split. Well, Spike and Ajaya, I'm going to say his name differently every time, and eventually I'll get it right. Well, Ajaya holding position here. His teammate Spike taking quite a bit of damage, swallowing enough bullets to take him down to just above half health, but hopefully going to be able to utilize an opportunity to heal. Looks like Spike's actually instead going to use this opportunity to rotate back to his teammate and try to combine forces. Well, Fab 4 spread out very close to members of Assassin. Now, this seems to be a little bit of a spectating glitch, as they're showing up as the same color for me. We got Fabulous 4 and Raw Esports about to duke it out. Jiggle from Raw holding position. M4, I believe that's an M4. Oh, wow. M4 UMP both glaciered out. He is iced out here on the hot desert of Miramar. That's a nice little juxtaposition. Well, we got only H MVP keeping the pressure with that UMP 45. He knows an opposition might be behind that vehicle, and he is not going to let them have that luxury of peeking. XO taking out Reflex in the distance. It is clan-on-clan altercations. You hate to see it. All right, XVT cooking up a nade that might honestly, oof. For a moment there, I honestly thought TMTDC was in the same building, and I was holding my breath, and I know XV was as well. Look at, speaking of reflexes, talk about the reflexes on Zivit here. Just phenomenal takedown with that UMP 45. What a last stand. Even though XO was able to secure the finish on him, he put up a pretty aggressive last stand performance for being in a 1v4 scenario. Well, we got Sagacy, a Fab 4, taking a little bit of damage there, brought down to just below half health here. Going to try to heal up while his teammates provide a little overwatch and cover fire. We got Assassin here, Scar L in hand, ready and waiting. Zordy going to try to boost up while he can, and Jiggle throwing the nades, and they do connect. Not quite enough to take his opponent down, but enough to bring him down to about 15% of his overall health. Sagacy is going to absolutely need to heal up if possible. Ajaya working on members of ST off in the distance. Oof. Tons of elims happening on the playing field, ladies and gentlemen. It's bloodbath warfare all across the map. Zordy with the over-under, getting the pump, getting a quick takedown, and adding another one onto it. Fab 4 at this point is down to Sagacy and Sagacy alone to carry on the team name, with only an S18 Uzi combo and below half health, and he's still aggressively pushing forward towards Jiggle. With Zordy and Assassin holding the off angle, it was just a bad scenario for him from the get-go. Outnumbered, outmanned, outgunned. The hope was little, but you gotta, give him credit where credit is due. That was a pretty aggressive last stand on his end to be pushing towards a opposition that outnumbered him 3-1. Well, Stronger Esports reduced down to a 3-person team of Poison, Tom, and Deadshot. It looks like they lost Agent 14 early on, which could put them at a bit of a numbers disadvantage here. However, luckily, in this case, their closest threat is going to be... pardon me. I was actually going to... Yeah, I have a little bit of an observer mistake on my end. Their closest threat is going to be CMF Esports. Oh, no. Yeah. Is this CMF? No, it's not. Must be a little glitch on my end. It looks like MF. Yeah, this is going to be a Meteor Shot Star here, actually. Currently, still a full 4-person team. 0 elims to their name so far, but it's very early on. And Fury is not panicking at all. They have plenty of time to get those elims later on in the game. What's most important is making sure that you make it towards that end stage. You know, bringing me to a great point. Ever since the scoring structure of, the PMPL, PMSL events has shifted to prioritize eliminations now, our participants still need to emphasize placement. Even though eliminations hold more weight than they did previously, getting to that end game and securing those placement points can be the absolute pivotal difference maker between placing high enough for a payout and not. All right, well, the Viking Astad team, still a full team as well, also boasting 0 kills, a big old onion to their name, but not stressing too much. As I said, we have plenty of time. We got the Deadeyes guys. Those Deadeyes are looking hard with 20/20 vision, as Yetta getting some great damage on his opposition in ZC. Precious trying to carry on with that trend, firing outwards with the M4 on a retreating team of ZC, but not getting a lick of damage there. He's got Feroin and Levy here, utilizing a little bit of geographical cover, and this is an interesting fight for him to be taking on. And I say that because he is a bit spread off from the remainder of his team. He's in a 1-3 split with his teammates and firing at multiple members of ZC off in the distance. Now, if ZC decides to focus back in on him and his teammates can't really assist him, it could spell trouble. But look at that beautiful spray right there. I shouldn't say spray. Beautiful shot with the Mini 14. Ever since that I'll call it a semi-buff, applied to the Mini maybe about 2 months back, we're seeing it in circulation in the esports scene a little bit more frequently. All right. Yetta keeping the scope outwards on ZC. Now, here's another reason why I'm not so sure that this altercation is great for Yetta. Oh, well, we'll get to that later. Instead, Villain Sir facing off against the likes of Seal as Kim Tony is taken down alongside MOKKA. And MOKKA sent on back to lobby. Kim going to join him potentially. Oh, Sakura is eliminated from the vehicle. It's all down to J4Me, or Jamie, if you will. The final hope for Villain Sir, just reduced to the 1 person from a full 4-person team in just a few short moments. Corrido getting a takedown of his own. That'll be his first kill and the team's 4th. Seal carrying on as a full 4-person team with 4 kills to their name. Inimical Monk holding position. Javed with a bit of high ground above the likes of ZC. ZC trying to enshroud himself in what cover they can, but Levy did make himself a little too visible there, and that's going to exemplify that advantage of the high ground. Ooh, Javed gonna try his best to reunite with Rafi here, provide his teammate with some assistance. And it looks like the remainder of Inimical Monk might have a little bit of downtime. You know who doesn't have downtime? Is Sexa here, the final hope for ZC, as he is just swimming in a pool of Villain Sir members. Oh, goodness gracious. Pardon me, Deadeyes guys members. It looks like my spectator list here might be a little off. Deadeyes guys members here. And yep, 4v1, just outnumbered, outmanned, and outgunned. But ooh, Precious not getting a lot of celebration time after he's just trying to loot his kill. He's taking some bullet damage through the window from the high ground from CMF here. Wow. We got Degree holding a nice overwatch position. All right. Let's see. Degree holding position, overwatch, mini 14 in hand. But here's the issue for him is that the Deadeyes guys are pretty spread out. We got a 2-1-1 split here. And so realistically, if Degree were to fire downward and any sort of peak would leave him vulnerable to 3 different angles of retaliatory fire. That could be a fight that might not be worth taking in this position. Especially considering that some of his teammates are a little further off in the distance. Just a moment, ladies and gentlemen. All right, so Inimical Monk holding position. I guess their closest threat is going to be the likes of High Voltage. Hold on 1 second. We'll chat after. Sorry, guys, just in communication with production team, just making sure that I'm getting everything correctly here. Villain Sports holding position. Jamie, the final hope for his team. His nearest threat is going to be what I believe to be CMF off in the distance, but not realistically gonna amount to much just yet. But here we have Raw Esports facing off up against the likes of TMTDC. Now Arrow swallowing the bullets and taken down, knocked, not like to be revived here. It's gonna leave a lot of pressure here on Orbit and Unda. Meanwhile, Inimical Monks, Rafi here with the DPS in hand, a quick takedown. Now it's him in a close quarter combat fight against Tabby of MS Star. Tabby firing away, and look at the rest of this. MS Star, the other 2 remaining teammates holding an overwatch as well. This is still a 3v1, even though it's a CQC 1v1. This is a great play by MS Star. Tabby, honestly, it almost seemed like he was going to try to go for a revive, which would have been a suicide mission at that point. And yes, the knock teammate is sent back to lobby. Tabby almost ready to join him with no health to speak of, clinging to life by the hair on his chin. And Rafi doing great work, but ultimately gets caster cursed by me as the vehicle explodes and sends him down to the knock zone. Now it's Javed and Javed alone for Inimical Monk, throwing those utilities out, and he does get the takedown on Tabby right there, and then boom goes the dynamite, all too literally. Now gonna try to enshroud his teammate, his fallen teammate, in a cloud of smoke and see if he can get the revive on heads up, but no, he cannot, because Wanted and Fury utilize that high ground to secure the thirst that Tabby started. Fury coming down to try to secure a revive on his fallen teammate, but becomes a burning candle pretty quickly on. Javed taken down to below half health, but gonna have to utilize his last remaining first aid right here and now. Fury trying to cook up a nade here for him, trying to get a preemptive takedown, but Javed aggressively pushing forward. It's a very risky push, especially considering that MS Star had multiple members up. Wanted and Fury, 2 different lines of sight on the opponent. It was almost a doomed push forward from the get-go. Cursed, gonna try to secure a revive on his fallen teammate, potentially. No, he's still in the altercation with Star. He hears Star pull that little rotation, but ooh, retaliatory nades land on Curse, and both Star and Curse swallow a ton of damage. Need to prioritize healing up. Degree with that off angle of oversight here, firing away with that Scar L, keeping the pressure on and giving enough time for Curse to heal up. However, Degree taking a little bit of damage in return there, able to heal up, utilizing his last first aid as well. Luckily for him, he does have 5 boosts left. All right. Well, Curse getting some new resources here. Degree trying to keep that Overwatch, but Star says no. And to put out the dad jokes, he was a shooting star, all too literally. All right, Zordy from Raw facing off against the likes of High Voltage. And look at this. It looks to be a 3v2 scenario in favor of High Voltage. But given how spread out Raw is, it might not be as set in stone as High Voltage may assume. Especially if Assassin can get an Overwatch angle over High Voltage, it could leave a lot of pressure on X, Y, and Z and Star. Well, look at this zone, ladies and gentlemen. The shift has spoken, and it's going to be orienting around the graveyard, favoring members of PX and TMTDC, and not really anyone else. Not a lot of rotation needed for Deadeyes or Seal, but for teams like I8 and OG, it's going to be a bit more of a rotation northbound into zone. Now, if you are OG, you're going to have to be a little bit extra careful because they seem to be pushing up from the south into an opposition. All right, Zordy making his stand here, preemptively firing against members of High Voltage, but High Voltage just swarming on them like mosquitoes in a North Carolina summer, and boy, making quick work of them, and that's going to leave Assassin as the final hope. Now, oh, what a beautiful nade takedown. Absolutely monstrous nade, making it rain hellfire. Can he keep up this momentum? He is now in a 1v2 scenario against High Voltage with a high ground advantage over Satara. Is that nade going to hit? It does, taking Satara down to almost no health. He does it! He eliminates High Voltage as a solo. Assassin finishing the job that Zordy started, and as a two-person team, they managed to put up 7 kills, and they are not even done, ladies and gentlemen. Assassin, even though he's a solo, he still has 4 kills to his name of the team 7. You can't rule him out even as a solo. What a phenomenal performance for being undermanned. All right, we got MS Star driving aggressively towards I8. It looks like I8 a little preoccupied with their own rotation into zone, so this might not lead to an altercation. We'll have to see. Meanwhile, Deadeyes, guys, and Seal looking to face off as Yedua cooks up a preemptive nade, throwing it over the hills, trying to get a early preemptive utility takedown going off of what he hears alone. All right, now is where things get a bit spicy, ladies and gentlemen. Not a lot of land to choose from here. Not a lot of open space, and now even less. And it's going to favor one team and one team only. That's going to be I8. TMTDC doesn't have far to rotate into zone, but every other team is going to have a risky rotation across open field to get to this new safe zone. Seal, Scooby with a monstrous nade crashing down on Nova. And now, oof, Amison swallowing a little bit of damage, but luckily Seal is still a full 4-person team, so he's still got Scooby, Zefos, and Corrido to give him a little overwatch and cover fire. Corrido making great work of his own utilities, taking down Claw and Yetta in the same nade, and then focusing in on Precious, almost getting the elimination on Precious as well. Corrido single-handedly almost taking down 3 members of Seal right there and then, and did it all with a member of Seal still behind him. Look at this. Assassin still has not had to give up his position here from atop I guess you can call it the mesa, atop these high ground boulders. He's got an overwatch now on members of Viking Astad and making great use of it. Now, this is the guy that we saw take out 3 members of the previous opposition and put up 4 of the team's 7 kills. So, as I said, even though he's a solo, you just cannot rule him out. And we've seen what this guy can do with grenades. It is not to be underwhelmed here. Well, he's also taking a little bit of third-party shots here. It looks like it was from MS Star. Tabby getting some damage on him, but Tabby actually gave up his position in shooting. That's one of the issues that with Miramar. It's such open field that you have to be alert of not just your immediate surroundings, but your distant surroundings as well. Well, we got Ragnar of Viking Astad off in the distance and getting focused on from Assassin, but Assassin just swallowing up that blue juice there. And I don't care who you are or what what tier you play at, professional level or no. Nobody has a higher KD than that blue zone. All right, we got I8 Domain, one of 4 remaining members still up for the team. Domain responsible for one of the team's 4 kills. Pretty evenly distributed. I8 getting a takedown on XO. Nightwing joining XO down in the prone zone, sent back to lobby. And I8 and Seal just basically teaming up on their opposition to send them back to lobby. Ladies and gentlemen, we're down to 4 teams spread across 13 people. It all comes down to this. Let's get ready to rumble. Devastation in the desert in-game. Let's finish this. We got Wanted throwing some preemptive nades for Viper, but Viper driving out in a vehicle rotation just in the nick of time. Scooby of Team Seal, look at this. The Seals, you wouldn't think a Seal would do well in the desert, but boy do they ever. 12 eliminations to their name so far and almost evenly distributed. All right, we got Octopus here of I8 getting some fairly successful grenade damage across the way on Scooby, just going off of sound alone. Now Scooby and Viper right next to each other, and Viper making quick work with that S12 shotgun. Easy takedown right there and then, wasting not a split second. The second he heard that pin pulled from the grenade, he knew it was time to go. Now Viper, the last little desert snake here, putting up his final stand against multiple members of Team Seal, and just outnumbered, outmanned, and outgunned. And Amison is going to finish the job, getting his 5th elimination in the team's 14th. All right, 3 teams still on the board. Viking Astad facing off against MS Star, and Wanted is a burning candle, and that candle burned bright and right on back to lobby. Viking Astad facing off against Team Seal. Who wants it the most? Ooh, Ragnar trying to use that DBS, but ultimately swallowing more damage than he can dish out. Corrido with a high ground and that little bit of geographical boulder cover, gonna throw some nades that do crash down on Peasy, taking him down to half health. Peasy retaliating with some nades of his own. Corrido and Peasy both at half health, but the high ground has spoken, and the off angle. And ladies and gentlemen, that is that. You have got to give it up. What a amazing performance there by Seal Esports. Goodness gracious. The level of skill at this level, it's just unbelievable. You don't see utilities like this in every region, ladies and gentlemen. I can say that firsthand. North America, as much as it's my home, I love it, but they just do not have the utility skills of other regions. And look at this. Zephos of Team Seal putting up 1,200 damage. Now, he's got 5 eliminations. 5 eliminations looks great, but also look at the damage. He's got 12 knocks worth of damage on the board. Now, let's flip the script. That does mean that he's got a lot of room for improvement, because this also tells me that for all the damage he's putting out, he's not securing a lot of the thirsts, but still phenomenal work. Zephos, 1,200 damage, and look at this. Just as it was in round 1, the winning team is going to be the top first and second for damage, as Corrido takes second place for damage with 720. Third place going to Assassin from Raw with 650. Absolutely phenomenal performance, and let's see where that sets the overall rankings for round 2. Pardon me, not the overall rankings, the points for round 2. Seal now faring just as well as the victor of round 1, putting up 28 points. And look at, in comparison, in context, MS only getting 11 points in round 2 here, tying themselves with I8 at 11 points, TMTDC in 4th with 9, tied with Raw at 5th with 9. It is a very close gap here between 2nd and 9th place. Only 6 points separate High Voltage from MS. There is still a lot of action to be had, and not a lot of wiggle room for mistakes, ladies and gentlemen. Well, where does that set the overall stats? Well, 67 elims for Electro, 153 nades thrown, 23 revives. Look at this. He's bandaged and meted up for 7,127 damage. Still, he's out there playing aggressively. He's not afraid to go loot those airdrops. And look at this, 73 total knocks. Now, of those 73, 12 of them were headshots. And look at this, longest elimination. For me, I say the render distance is about 400 meters to 415 meters. At least it is on my iPad. So 398 meters for a longest elimination distance is just at the very limit of what PUBG can handle. Look at this, the MVP rankings here. We got CMF's 9T degree with 7 elims, 1,279 damage, and a very long survival time too. We got Sui from Raw, also with 7 elims, a little bit less damage, but almost equal in survival time. Seal putting up 6 elims, pretty darn good damage though, 1,300, not even staying alive for as long, 3 minutes less in the survival time for average survival time. So that means he's working much faster, getting those elims in less time than his other participants here. We got 6'9" with 7 elims and 847 damage. Now that actually, to me, is the most efficient of the stats here, because that means for almost every bit of damage he's done, every 100 damage he's done, he's almost always securing the thirst. All right, well, let's have a look at where that puts the overall rankings. And oh my goodness, we have a contest here for first place between CMF and Seal. Seal holding that gold medal first place chicken dinner top position with 33 points total, only a 3-point lead over CMF, who is holding second. Ain't nothing wrong with Silver at 30 points, especially when one mistake from Team Seal could absolutely cost him that King of the Hill top first place position. Deadeye's guys, all that patience from round one had me a little speculative, thinking maybe it's going to be a passive day for them. But nope, they've worked their way all the way up to third place, boasting 20 points already, leading Raw by only 2 points though. So it's still a very close match. We have a lot of ground to cover, a lot of action ahead, as we still have 3 matches ahead of us here, ladies and gentlemen. Just to get into it, we've covered Erangel and Miramar, the first of those 2 matches, and we still have something to look forward to, a little spice in the geography. As we carry on to round 3 of 5, it'll be the Rumble in the Jungle as we head to our smallest map of the day, Sandhawk. Now, remember what I said, geography means different strategies, and that close condensed jungle will be a very different altercation than what we saw in Miramar. Absolutely phenomenal gameplay so far, ladies and gentlemen, but we are just starting. So stick around. We'll be back in just a few short moments with round 3 of 5 of the 8R Stars Cup Battle of the Regions Group Stage Finals for South Asia. Stick around. Be back soon. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, we don't have a lot of downtime, no time to waste. Why? Because we are moving straight in to round 3 of 5 of the 8R Stars Cup Battle of the Regions Group Stage Finals for South Asia. Now remember, of all the teams competing today, only 3 teams are going to move on from this group stage to the grand finals here. So it is going to be heavily contested. A lot of teams here, not a lot of teams going to be able to advance. And what lays ahead of us? Well, it is going to be the lush, condensed jungle of Sandhawk. Now, what does that mean for us? Well, there's so much more geographical cover to take. You need to be alert of not just your distant surroundings, but your immediate surroundings as well. And with so much geographical cover, you can have an enemy so close. You can have a snake in the grass 4 or 5 feet away and have no idea. So that is going to lead for some much more on the tip of your toes, high alert altercations, and a lot more CQC intensive fights as well. Now, another thing about Sandhawk is that the map is so small that I would say the flight path is a bit irrelevant, so to speak, especially in comparison with a map like Miramar. Now, what do I mean? I mean, basically, regardless of the flight path on Sandhawk only, you can get to pretty much anywhere you want on the map just by deploying your chute early enough. So that does leave a lot of potential for the early game drop spot opportunities for the participants, meaning that it could, in the off chance, lead to a slower start. But this is Sandhawk, ladies and gentlemen, and usually what tends to be the case on this map is a little higher chance of an early game altercation. And already we are seeing some early droppers as TMT gets a quick jumping northbound, riding that coastal edge, potentially heading towards the Lakawi region, maybe even a little further past. We got members of VS, Viking Astad, heading southbound here, looking like they're going to be occupying that little peninsula region. Now, PX going to be heading westbound, but not alone. They are just beneath members of Fab 4. We got ZC also heading southwest, probably towards the Sami region, and it looks like they will probably have that area to themselves. Their closest threat going to be PX off to their east. Little early game altercation may be in store between members of OG and, having a little trouble seeing. Well, they got TMT to the south, and it looks like maybe a member of VK just beneath them. All right, well, it's a fight right already on the board as Spike putting out the shots towards members of INM PX. And it looks like a takedown has already happened on the playing field here. Jimmy firing away. Igneous getting another takedown, this time on Sazid. And look at this. Undergang in full swing. Right off the bat, they come in swinging. Igneous with a QBZ in hand, trying to get a little bit of loot there. Arabi, not even a helmet to his name, still keeping the pressure on with that AK-47. We got Cynics holding position with an M4 AK of his own here, but not a lick of armor to his name. This is going to be a tough position to hold without any armor. And look at this. Ajaya and Jimmy getting a flank rotation up the hill, trying to utilize that high ground and maybe even get a little overwatch on their opponents in INM. Now, here's the issue I have with that, is that it's on Sandhawk where there's so much geography in between them. Either way, Igneous taken down by Cynics. That's going to leave Spike in a little bit of trouble there behind that boulder. Cynics focusing in there on Jimmy, while Arabi tries to focus in on the remainder of Undergang, catching eyes on Spike, firing away with that AK-47, but not a lick of connecting damage there, unfortunately for him. Ajaya with a full 150 bullet clip in that M249, ready to take down Cynics at a moment's notice. Taking the door down, make sure he's got a line of sight on him if it's possible. But he's going to have to be careful as he's pushing forward through open field to try to get this takedown on Cynics. It's a risky one. He's very vulnerable, and case and point, Cynics makes quick work of it with the 6x M4 in hand. Arabi finding a level 1 vest, but still no helmet to his name, and he's pushing up regardless. And look at this, the third party from CMF as Electro and Admiral do some work. Admiral taking down he just ran over a seal with a vehicle. Scooby taking Admiral down in retaliation. Meanwhile, the Deadeyes guys, they got Yetta here putting up some damage, but swallowing a lot of bullets in retaliation. Taken down to below half health as Electro aggressively pushes forward onto Yetta, trying to take him down before he can heal up. And ooh, luckily for Yetta, a little assistance from the remainder of his teammates off in the distance. Deadeyes has, well, those Deadeyes have 20/20 vision. So even off in the distance, they've got their teammates back. Electro, he definitely felt the impact of those warning shots, and is going to have to retreat back to heal up, at least heal up and reunite with his teammate. Arabi and Cynics are all that remains at this point for members of INMPX, which is going to put them at a pretty significant disadvantage. They lost half of their starting lineup very early on, which is going to mean that they're going to have to change up their strategy a little bit. I don't want to go say the extreme and say to a passive strategy, so to speak, but definitely a more reserved and conservative approach. They're going to have to weigh their options and pick the battles that with the highest percentage for success, you know, the highest odds for success. They're going to have to pick and choose, you know. It's not going to be a scenario where they should be going out engaging in 2v4 altercations if they can help it. More so, they should be trying to get some third-party kill steals or attack a weakened altercation in a nice third-party push. Well, we got INM, the Inimical Monk Esports here, and a bit of a low-ground altercation up against the high-ground holders of High Voltage Nepal. Satara, one of 4 fully healed and fully equipped teammates here, just holding position, playing a little bit of the waiting game. Now, as I said, Sandhawk does tend to be a little bit faster of a pace than the other maps, but that doesn't mean that there isn't going to be a little bit of strategy for the first half, just playing the waiting game and securing those placement points. As I said in the last match, even though the scoring structure has shifted, placement still holds a lot of emphasis. Well, we got XYN firing away, and it looks like while he was able to get a knock on Rafia, retaliation was served on a platter as Sujandai was taken down in retaliation. Javed taken down to half health, but still going for a revive. Satara almost picks him off, but maybe 1 or 2 bullets shy. Ooh, actually several bullets shy of getting that knock. Satara is not likely to be able to do much here to stop this revive. So just going to be holding position, keeping the pressure on his opposition in an Inimical Monk, but Inimical Monk utilizing what utilities they can, covering themselves in a cloud of smoke to work their way back to the vehicle, or the building cover, pardon me. All right. Well, that would leave High Voltage here in a bit of a waiting game, and I gotta say, I like what Inimical Monk is doing, spreading out into a 2-1-1-1 split here, but they have 3 buildings occupied here with 3 different, not very different, but 3 different angles of sight on the opposition in High Voltage. So even though they have that low ground disadvantage, they do have multiple lines of sight on their opponent if Satara does peek. Deadeyes guys off in the distance securing a takedown. Now keep in mind, Deadeyes, they are only a 3-person team at this stage. They have 2 elims to their name. And it looks like we got Raw Esports Jiggle hanging on the bridge, trying to utilize a bridge camp potentially here, but Precious keeping a nice overwatch from the rooftop here. A nice line of sight on Jiggle if he does try to make his way across. Looks like his teammates were testing the waters, and Precious with some amazingly accurate shots here. Oh my goodness! Precious just wrecks into Sleepy from the distance, taking him out, a moving target. Claw before he can even get the Molotov onto his opponent, CMF in a third-party altercation takes the opposition down, and at that point it's just an easy third-party kill steal. Nova of the Deadeyes boys just hold in position in this 2-1, 2-1 split. And I guess their nearest threat would have to be the fabulous, Raw Esports. And Sleepy, well, it's going to be a pretty heavy sleep. The sleep that you never wake up from, as he is sent right on back to lobby, eliminated. Nova hold in position just in case anyone tries to work their way across that bridge. So that's going to leave Jiggle kind of stuck in between a rock and a hard place. Not really anywhere he can rotate to. So if the zone shifts against his favor, he could be in a world of hurt. Look at this new zone, ladies and gentlemen. Wow. This is got our participants kicking their feet, but as a spectator and a fan of the esports scene, it's got me on the edge of my seat. Why? Because half of this new zone is occupied by water, leaving even less real estate for our participants to choose from. Well, we got members of Stronger Esports, Deadshot holding ground, making his stand here with a DBS against members of ZC, right swarming on him. And unfortunately for Deadshot, his only assistance, I take it back. I was going to say his teammate is a little further off, but that is not the case. Rafat is still going to get the takedown on Agent Levy with a beautiful utility knock on him, Deadshot. And just like that, it's quick work done by ZC as they secure 4 eliminations to their name, carrying on as a 3-piece with 4 kills. Not a bad place to be in. Well, Jiggle still stuck there on that bridge, and we know exactly why, because the Deadeyes guys holding that hilltop with an overwatch position, just basically freezing him still. Anywhere he moves is going to be in a line of sight, so it's going to be a tough one for him. His best bet is to wait to see if someone attacks the Deadeyes guys and tries to, and gives him that little window of time to rotate out. Well, no time to waste as INM PX, we got Cynics here firing outward, but actually swallowing a little bit more damage than he's able to dish out against the likes of ZC. Oh, pardon me, against CMF. This is that little spectator glitch I'm having here. CMF Electro responsible for 66% of the team's 3 kills here. That's my fancy way of saying 2 of the team's 3 kills. But got a nice little spread here with this team. It looks to be a 2-1-1-1 split here. And I really like that because it leaves an opportunity for a particular strategy I like to call the BOA strat. Now, that's only because I don't think there is an official terminology for it, but the BOA strat is essentially a 2-1-1-1 split, or a 1-1-1-1 split, or even a 2-2 split, surrounding the opposition on multiple angles and then constricting on them just like a boa snake at the same time. And what does that do? It adds a panic factor onto the opposition, and that's where they make the most mistakes. Why don't we see this in every single PUBG Mobile esports event? Well, because it's a pretty tough strategy to get in position for without being noticed. But if you can get into position, it can be a very effective strategy, especially if you are one man down. It can really kind of alleviate that deficit. Well, Deadeyes guys finally eliminating Jiggle from the bridge. Jiggle was basically frozen still with nowhere to go, and stayed as long as he could, but ultimately not a lot he could do there. Well, that's going to put us down to 14 teams spread across 50 participants, ladies and gentlemen. Still a lot of action to be had here in round 3 of 5 of the 8R Stars Cup group stage finals for South Asia. Ooh, looks like TMT might be preparing for an altercation against the Villain Sir crew. Villain Sir could be in a bit of trouble here. If Fabulous 4 rotates northbound into zone, it would put the Villain Sir in a peanut butter and trouble sandwich, and they are the deli meat in that sandwich. Not a position you'd want to be in. Luckily, it looks like Fab 4 has other plans in mind. Well, the new zone has shifted, and our participants are not really any more comfortable with this new zone, as it's still about 50% water. Well, MS Star about to face off here and now. Kokum at the ready, waiting for a line of sight on Star on that coastal edge. I really like Star's position, or Star Wanted's position, because he doesn't have to account for his backside. With that much water behind him, he only needs to account for 180 degrees of sight versus 360. Well, Kim Tony of Villain Sir getting a nice takedown on a low ground holder in TMT. Will it amount to a thirst? It does not look to be the case, as Sakura has given up his location when he fired to members of PX there. Looks like Villain Sir in a world of hurt. PX, one man down as Arrow is knocked. Luckily, Unda there gonna enshroud his teammate in that cloud of smoke, at least enshrouding him from the line of sight of Villain Sir to try to secure this revive if he can. That's gonna leave a lot of the pressure on Orbit and Sanchi to provide the overwatch and cover fire. Sancher from that sniper tower, 3x, M4 in hand, not even really sure who to put the scope on. He's got a high ground advantage over members of TMT, but he's also got members of a couple other teams nearby, actually. Tycoon pushing forward, but at a low ground disadvantage, and what a monster nade from Kim Tony as he made it raid Hellfire. Wow. Well, that's going to put Kim Tony and Sakura, as they are a two-piece, but boy, you know, what a great implementation of utilities. Kim Tony has just smoked the entire area. That has to take at least four smokes right there. And that's going to be his best bet to securing a path forward to that building without being spotted. Tycoon swallowing a enormous amount of damage, brought down to 10% health, but able to utilize that boulder cover to heal up. But just like that, Kim Tony with that off angle taking him right back down to like 10-15% health. Kim Tony really in full swing here. Even though Villain Sir has 0 kills, it's not like they're not putting in some pretty aggressive work. And just like that, Sakura getting the takedown. Sagasy knocked and not much chance of being revived at that low health. That's going to put Tycoon in a world of hurt. Even though they, the Fab 4, are technically the Fab 3 now, Tycoon is so spread out from his teammates that if he is knocked, the possibility to be revived is much slimmer. Well, we got Tonmo here, aiming uphill, 3x in hand. Oh, look at this. Claw with a DBS, close quarter combat annihilator, making quick work of the opposition, and that is that. The DBS does not stutter. It says what it says, and it'll say it once. One shot, one knock, just like that. Boy, you do not want to be 5 feet away from an opponent's DBS. And unfortunately, for the nature of PUBG Mobile esports, at least unfortunately for the participants, that tends to be the case quite frequently. Well, Amison, one of 2 remaining members for Corrido, for Seal. I just caster cursed Team Seal pretty hard as Corrido is taken down as I tried to commend them, leaving Amison as the final hope for the team unless he can secure a revive. Meanwhile, TMT, we got Fear firing away at the immediate threat in MS Star, taking Wanted down to about 5% health, but Wanted does have that DBS, so even though he's got no health, all he needs is one shot in close proximity to Fear to do the deed. But no chance, as Kokum makes quick work of Wanted with that utility. Nice grenade launch. All right, well, Funk in a little bit of a funk as he is shot down to just above half health. Going to utilize a first aid here with a little bit of geographical cover that he's afforded to himself. That's given him a few moments to heal up. Nicely done. Not really a lot of time to boost up, but Tabby holding this little ledge here, firing away at two members of TMT. He's got Fear pushing forward while Kokum holds the off angle. Kokum made good work with that DBS, but at that distance, it's not going to be as damaging. So now Tabby taken down to below half health, probably going to try to heal up. Oh, Kokum, can he get a nade on top of him? It doesn't look like he threw it. No need to throw it as... Oh, I withdraw that statement. I thought Kokum got the knock, but no, sir. Star Tabby is a shooting star. Tabby with that DBS taking Fear right out of the equation, taking Kokum right out of the equation. All right. Well, Tabby securing the revive on Funk if possible. Meanwhile, Tycoon of the Fab Four getting an easy elimination right then and there. Tycoon desperately in need of some heals here. He's going to have to work his way into zone from the blue area. Meanwhile, we got Raw Esports here facing off against the likes of Vikings Astad. Nice takedown there on Ragnar. Sanchir, he's got more nades where that came from. This time aimed outwards at D9 and Xing Chang. Meanwhile, Unda does fall Unda to the underworld as he's sent back to lobby. Funk is taken down as well, this time at the hands of XO. Xing Chan getting some nice takedowns and Thirst in retaliation. Looks like we are down to 8 teams, ladies and gentlemen. We got High Voltage rotating their way into the edge of zone, but they are going to have to be careful. There's an off-angle holder in the shape of TMT, and there he is right there, just behind the boulder, firing away at Satara, who is trying to make his way to building cover through open field. He does make the rotation somewhat safely. It looks like he's still at full health. Reflex, on the other hand, even with the boulder cover, finds himself in a world of hurt and swallowing that dead zone damage, and not a lot he could have done there. And that's going to bring Satara and the rest of High Voltage up to 3 eliminations, and a pretty probable chance for a revive. Well, Viking Astad, we got Xing Chen here, holding position. He's got 1 kill to his name, 3 for the team, and he is 1 of 2 remaining members. Now, remember what I said last match. As a 2-person team, you're going to need to change up the strategies a little bit. Now, that doesn't mean necessarily playing passively, but more conservatively and more reserved. It's never more so than on a map like Sandhawk, where there is so much geographical cover, and you can't ever know for sure what sort of opposition is hiding nearby. There could be a lot of sneaky jungle snakes in that grass. Well, 90 Degree taken down real quick at the hands of Star. And meanwhile, the Deadeyes guys making great implementations of those third-party kill steals. Nice distance takedown by Claw Sir. Goodness gracious, putting up his 7th elimination and responsible for 7 of the team's 9. That is a phenomenal performance on his end and from the team's end in general. Fabulous 4, we got MVP working his way in, but swallowing damage here from members of Viking Astad. Taken down to just below half health and with no first aids to speak of. All he has are 2 boosts. And, luckily for him, the third party from the likes of High Voltage could have been his saving grace. But no, sir, because speaking of third party is the king of the third party, Claw Sir of Deadeyes. Even as a solo, just wrecking the entire playing field, securing his 8th elimination and getting his 9th knock here in place, this time on Satara. Goodness gracious, we have 4 teams remaining spread across 7 people, but look at this. Claw Sir finding himself in a battle against time. That zone is going to shift here any moment now, and now it's a battle of chance. And luckily for Claw Sir, Pub Jesus has shined his blessings down upon him and granted him the favor of the final zone. That is his saving grace potentially. But look at this. D9 putting a monster nade out. And down goes XYN. All right. We got D9, the last remaining member for Viking Astad. And this could be it. Oh, the nade taking him down to 15% health. One more nade crashes down on him. It could be the difference maker between life and death. He's going to try to retaliate with some nades of his own, but no knocks from that one. And this is a tough one to be in. He's got nothing to met up with, and it was just easy pickings for HV, a shooting star. Well, speaking of stars, we got another clanmate of the star crew, this time Tabby of the opposition, firing away at multiple members of High Voltage who just outnumber him. He still does get the takedown on Sujandai, but Tabby and Claw in a 1v1 scenario. We've got a 1v1v1. 3 teams remain spread across 3 people. It's a fair fight to end round 3. How fitting. Every man for himself. All right, as the Molotovs crash around Tabby, he says, "I will not be your burning candle," but he chokes on his words as Closser, doing what he does, the utility god that he is, just makes it rain hellfire on him. And now we got a 1v1 to decide who wants the chicken dinner for round 3 the most. It's Closser versus Star, Deadeyes versus High Voltage. Let's get it. Sir getting some good damage on to Star, taking him down to just above half health and finishing the job. Ladies and gentlemen, Closser as a solo for a good portion of that endgame, a very good portion of that endgame as a solo, playing hyper aggressively and making the absolute most of positioning, getting so many third-party eliminations and really being as efficient as he can with his bullets. That means he got as many eliminations as possible as a solo as he could. Look at this, 1,125 damage, and you know what? 10 eliminations to his name. What does that ratio tell me? That means for almost all the damage he's doing, he's almost securing the thirst on every last one of them. Only about 100 damage to spare. Closser, 10 elims, only seconded by Tabby, who has 40% of that at 4 eliminations. Third place going to Raw Esports' Sancher with 3. Closser of the Deadeyes guys coming in, guns a-blazing. Now keep in mind, Deadeyes guys started off this match in 3rd place. And so these 22 points that they just added on are going to be a huge impact and potentially enough to start evening the odds here. Maybe even enough to take them up to 1st. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Deadeyes, 22 points to their name, almost doubling that of High Voltage with 13. MS in 3rd with 10. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have passed the halfway mark for the day and have explored all the different maps for the day. We have seen our participants on Erangel, Miramar, and Sandhawk. Oh, look at these overall points. Deadeyes do it. That little extra boost, those 3 points were the difference maker between gold and silver. And just like that, Deadeyes take the lead over Seal by 3 points. Now we have a very contestable top 3 here. Only thing separating 1st from 3rd is 7 small points. And hey, it goes on between 4th and 8th as well. 4th and 8th separated by 7 points as well. So we have a lot of tightly packed positionings here, and especially for that top 3, it's going to be a heavy contest. Well, as I said, we've explored all the maps, and now it's time to double back. Coming back in just a few short moments for round 4, we'll be getting right back into the very first map ever introduced to the game for our 2nd match of Erangel for the day. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back in just a few short moments for the 8R Stars Cup Group Stage Finals for South Asia in just a few short, brief moments. Stick around. We'll come back at you soon for some more Erangel. Be back soon. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. We are back. We are back. No time to waste as we get into round 4 or 5 of the 8R Stars Cup Battle of the Regions group stage finals for South Asia. And we have, as I said, explored all the different maps, all the different geographies, and now it's time to double down and correct the errors from round 1. Whatever these teams, whatever mistakes they made in their first Erangel match, this is their chance to account for that error and have a second shot at making their impact on the map that is the very first ever introduced to PUBG. So it is the one that our participants should be the most comfortable on, most rehearsed on, and most synergized with. This is our participants' comfort zone. So more so than ever, if you made a preemptive mistake in round 1, here's your second shot at life. And I gotta say, you know, with the placement being this tightly knit, with our top 3 contestants so close in proximity points wise, it is going to probably change up a lot of the gameplay strategy moving forward for this latter half of the day, meaning that those top 3 holders, you know, Deadeye's guys especially, holding only a 3-point lead over second place. What is that going to mean? Are they going to double down and play hyper aggressively, or are they going to hold on to that lead as safely as possible and try to secure those in-game placement points before they go out on the aggression? Well, only time will tell. I would say, you know, if I were in that position and only had that 3-point lead, it's not exactly a comfortable enough lead to really find any breath of relief. So they're going to need to probably secure a fair number of eliminations moving into this round 4. But if they put up one more strong performance, and I mean top 3, you know, high elimination performances, they will have a pretty nice amount of slack in the rope for round 5. But before I forget, ladies and gentlemen, if you're enjoying this event, please be sure to like and subscribe to 8R Organizations Esports' YouTube, as well as following them on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. If you support this event, support PUBG Mobile Esports in general, be sure to support the community orgs that make it possible. And also be sure to download METAGOOGOL on Android or the App Store. There's the QR code on the bottom right of the screen as well. Well, let's have a look at some head-to-head analysis. The Deadeye's guys and Seal Esports. Look at this. They both tie at chicken dinners, okay? But they're very closely knit in terms of utilities here. They're both just throwing out atrocious loads of utilities, making it rain grenades, so to speak. But look at this, ladies and gentlemen. There's a huge gap in average survival time, meaning that Deadeye's guys is able to utilize their playstyle a bit more efficiently, reaching that end game, meaning that they're playing a little bit more passively than Seal Esports is in the early stages. But flip the script, that also means Seal Esports is making the most efficient use of the actual time that they have. In surviving 5 minutes less average, that's a very significant amount of time there. That's a lot less to be putting up pretty similar numbers. That means they are working at a much faster rate. And let's have a look even closer at individuals. We got Klosser, the Annihilator from last round. Pretty good damage there. 611 average damage is nothing to throw stones at. And hey, 90 degree, 516, doing great work with that. But look at the difference in utilities between these two players. 90 degree is not really reliant upon his utility throws here to get those damage. He is a bullet warrior. He puts on a barrage of bullets, whereas Klosser is a grenade Molotov guy through and through. But also keep in mind what we saw of Klosser in that last match. He is a third-party kill stealer, and he is very good at it. Both phenomenal performances from two phenomenal teams and especially phenomenal players. Curious to see how Klosser and 90 Degree are going to perform moving back into round 4, into their second Erangel of the day. Well, No time to waste, ladies and gentlemen. It is just about to get to be go time. I'm curious, who's everyone rooting for? Who are you wanting to see take home that chicken dinner finish? Who do you think has that chicken dinner on the tip of their tongue, has the taste of it, and wants that money the most? Keep in mind, of all the teams competing today, ladies and gentlemen, only 3 teams are going to advance on to the grand finals. So, yeah, a lot of participants, not a lot of room forward to make that cut. It's going to be pretty highly contested, and especially considering our top 3 placing teams here have a little bit of a gap between the remainder of the playing field. It's going to leave some ground to cover and only 2 short matches to do it in for the remainder of the participants. So only time will tell, but you know, I think if there's ever a time to do it, if I were one of the participants and I was on the playing field, I would probably say waiting it out until the 5th match, until you get back to Miramar, playing Erangel a little bit more conservatively, because there is a lot more cover and a lot more area there. That leaves Miramar as your open field, to your highest chance of getting those sniper eliminations without presenting yourself as an easy vulnerable target to an immediate opposition. Now, having said that, that's a perfect case scenario, and that has never really been afforded to our participants in PUBG Mobile Esports. The only thing that you can account for is unaccountability. The only thing you can predict is unpredictability in PUBG Mobile Esports. And here we have it. Look at this flight path. Our participants are blessed with an almost centralized path, giving them a ton of drop spot options, meaning us, the viewer, might be left with fewer early game altercations and a more intensive in game. But already I can see members of, I guess that's ZC, dropping fairly close in proximity to Undergang at the military base region. That could be an early altercation, as well as some congestion at the North George region as Seal prepares for an altercation against the Fabulous Four. Well, we got a S18 in hand here, out of necessity more so than preference, as the Seals on the roof perform a little hardcore parkour, trying to get a little more properly looted. We got Amison just swallowing the damage, taken down to less than 5% of his health, and thanking his lucky stars that he was still up. And just like that, a member of Raw is sent down to the prone zone, knocked, but being revived quickly here. We got Jiggle holding a nice little bit of high ground overwatch position, trying to get a line of sight on his opposition in Seal through the window area. That's going to be a limited line of sight, obviously, but given how early it is in the match, both teams are fairly under-equipped in terms of resources. As you can see, Jiggle doesn't even have a vest to his name, and rocking an S18 pump as one of his weapons, probably more so out of necessity than preference. And speaking of S18s, we got TMT's Knight doing some work and knocking and thirsting sharp off in the distance. Nightwing, well, that wing has been shot down. He can no longer fly until the revive is put into place. Will it be successful? Nightwing is revived. Still needs to heal, meaning the remainder of the team should be in charge of overwatch and cover fire. Meanwhile, INF wasting no time as they swarm upon TMT DC, and it's a quick takedown. Nightwing still not able to med back up, and trying his best to get what resources from his thirsted teammate that he can before the inevitable push comes in from INMPX. Knight gonna throw a preemptive smoke to block his opponent's line of sight as best as possible, but that wing has been shot down. No flight for him. He is knocked twice. All right, that's gonna leave all the pressure here on Fear and Knight to carry on the team's name as a 2-piece. And look at this Knight swimming in a pool of smoke, and with multiple opponents here from INM. And look at him go! Knight making them, well, almost making the most of that advantage. Realistically, that goes to exemplify the downside of utilizing a smoke inside of a building for a CQC fight. You know, sure, your opponents can't see you, but often, you know, you can't see your opponents. And even from 5 feet away with at shotgun, those bullet sprays can still miss. Jiggle in desperate need of some meds. And boy, the SEALs are keeping the pressure as Amison holds the first floor alongside Zephos. Assassin swallowing damage, but with nothing to med back up with, holding position atop the staircase with that S18 in hand. The good thing that Raw has going for him is that they do have a bit of a number. Well, never mind. It's a 3-3. Assassin getting one takedown before retaliation is served on a platter. Jiggle is down. Now it is all going to be reliant upon Zordy with a DBS of his own, but only one bullet remaining, and it's switching to the M762. Trying to quickly reload that DBS with what time he can, keeping the pressure on Scooby, but Scooby has not taken the bait. Luckily, Zordy with the quickest reflexes I've seen in some time. And goodness, he just takes down 2 members of SEAL, and I think just evened it back to a 1v1 against SEAL Esports. And just like that, it's a third party. He finishes SEAL. Oh, he doesn't get to finish them. They had a solo remaining in the distance, so it's actually a third-party push from Stronger Esports, stealing all the work that Zordy and Raw Esports put in. All those elims are going to go to Stronger Esports. Wow, great third-party push on their end as they secure all 3 kills going to Agent 14. Well, we're not out of the thick of it yet. We got TMT still in very close proximity to high voltage. So close that you could get zapped or electrocuted. You gotta play careful. These dad jokes are so corny that they're making even me cringe, but I can't stop. We got Star of high voltage cooking up a preemptive nade, trying to make it rain hellfire upon danger, but missing the window entirely. Well, Sujandai getting the loot out of that UMP-45, giving himself a little more 45 ammo for that CQC Annihilator. XYN playing the rooftop position quite patiently. I like TMT's spread here. They got a nice, looks to be a 2-1 split. Now remember what I said, if you lose a member early on, a 2-1 split can sort of alleviate the pressure from having lost that bit of manpower. Reflex holding this positioning and that off angle across the street gives multiple lines of sight on high voltage, and it pays off as Sujandai is knocked. That's going to put a lot of pressure on Satara, XYN, and Star. Star quickly joining Sujandai in the prone zone as he is taken down. Satara trying to retaliate with a honey badger, dishing out some damage, but I don't think it was quite enough. And now it's going to be a tough one. Satara pushing forward, honey badger in hand, but swallowing an immense load of bullet damage there, being brought down to below a quarter of his health, and the deed is done. TMT XVT making quick work. I believe he secured the knock and thirst with the DP-28, and that is going to be his second kill. He's responsible for half of TMT's 4 eliminations so far. Well, the Fab 4 wasting no time as they aggressively push on to CMF, and boy, do they swallow the problem of that. They taste the bad end of that push as Cursed makes them feel the curse. And CMF retaliating quickly with the utility knock onto him. So that's going to put 6-9 in a bit of a tough pickle here. And yep, just like that, Rafat does take 6-9 down. That's going to leave CMF in the hands of 1 or 2 outlying positions. I think it might just be 1 person remaining. Either way, Fab 4 coming in, guns a-blazing, and they are not the only ones here, as we've got ZC making some great third-party implementations and securing their first elimination of the game as well. And look at this, just swarming upon a weakened solo member of Fab 4. Levy not even bothering with that easy, thirst that he has just waiting for him. But boy, that hesitation could be problematic. Tycoon, now the last member of Fab 4, so now it's just Fab 1, and that's Tycoon. But his Molly actually is counterproductive. It hits the wall, sets his teammate ablaze, and weakens him, and ZC capitalizes just like that, bringing themselves up to 4 kills. Great third-party push from the likes of ZC. Well, little bit of downtime here, but as I said in round 1, downtime is to be expected on larger maps, and larger maps are 4 out of the 5 maps that we're working with today. So yeah, little moments of silence and pockets of in-between time, they don't concern me. They're to be expected, because a more passive earlier mid-game is only going to translate to a more action-packed and climactic in-game. Raw Esports Unda utilizing the geographical cover here that he can, but he is at a low ground in comparison to his closest opposition in INM, but I don't think INM is any kind of aware of their opponent's location or even concerned about engaging. It looks like Sazid and the gang are just driving around trying to rotate into the zone, get a more secure position, secure some early real estate. Now, we got Raw Esports here, and currently playing a bit of the slow game here. And that's not to say passively, but a bit more reserved as they try to secure some placement points before going out on the all-out aggressive. Looks like the zone has spoken, and a decent amount of water was in zone. However, with the next shift, it decreases the water occupancy a little bit. Still a portion taken up, but still plenty of real estate to choose from. We are already seeing some congestion here just around the Ralshawk region. I'd say the best positioning thus far, well, it would immediately look like it would be for INM, but realistically, given the scenario, I would say MS Star has the best positioning at the northmost portion of the map, and it's for the same reason I gave credit to that other team in round 3, because with the entire backside being occupied by water, you only have to account for 180 degrees of overwatch and site scouting versus the standard 360 degrees. So only have to account for half as much area to look at. Now, granted, someone could get in a boat and rotate a wide flank rotation in the water, but I have never seen that actually effectively implemented in a high-level professional esports event. It would be extremely difficult to do without being spotted. All right, well, we got the Kings of the Hill all too literally here. The Deadeyes guys, as Precious Sir sits comfortably in this hilltop region. They have a nice overwatch over a lot of the playing field, and particularly over stronger esports. Now, this is exactly what I was talking about in terms of Deadeyes. They are playing a more reserved playstyle. Why? It's understandable. They only have that 3-point lead over second, so any mistake could cost them that first place position, and they are not ready to give up. They just got the taste of chicken on the tip of their tongue, and they're not ready to give it up just yet. Stronger Esports Poison coming to try to envenom his opponents in Deadeyes. Precious keeping the opponent held off at bay, guns ablazing, making it rain a little bit of bullet warning fire on the opposition, but not really getting anything so significant that it's worth pushing on. And look at the Deadeyes guys, just in their element of comfort, man. They are veterans of PUBG Mobile, and when I speak of geographical advantages, I bet these guys have every hill and divot memorized on Erangel. All right, catching eyes on ZC, playing a bit more aggressively than the first place holders in Deadeyes. These guys already have 4 kills to their name, half of which going to Farden. It's Farden or Faroin, hard for me to see. Arabi just holding position in place, 4 eliminations to their name as well. Playing a little bit of a slower play, understandably so. Still about a match and a half of playtime ahead of us for the day, so still time to make up for that point deficit. And you gotta admit, you know, with placement still holding a pretty hefty emphasis, I totally understand why a lot of these more advantageously placing teams are holding out to the end game to start getting aggressive. Well, Undergang being one of those teams, we got Ajaya finally engaging on the opposition in INM with a 4x M4 aimed outward, but is this a fight worth taking? In this case, specifically, I would say no, because even if Ajaya is able to secure a knock on his opposition, they have that building cover. So once he's knocked, he's going to be out of the line of sight from Ajaya, and realistically, it would require an aggressive push forward on a 1v3 scenario to secure that thirst. So what's he doing? He's using up his bullets. He's using up his opponent's bullets. He's depleting their armor. They're depleting his armor. But maybe he's making it so if he gets a knock, they'll bleed out faster next knock. Is that worth using up resources this early on? I would say probably not. All right. Igneous playing the waiting game. Trying to catch a line of sight on Sanchir, but Sanchir giving him no such luxury, not even peeking for a sliver. Not going to give a millisecond of opportunity to his opponent. We got Unda with the rest of the PX Raw Esports crew holding position. They've got a nice little bit of building cover, a little bit of wall cover. The only concern I have is realistically the high ground up the hill, more so than the crates across the bridgeway. The high ground overwatch, I would say, could render anyone at crates or in Raw Esports' positioning fairly vulnerable. Now, what I was saying about that knock through a window in the previous altercation we were discussing, if a member of Raw Esports was on the first floor of this building and an opponent came across the hilltop and got a knock, they probably would be able to secure a thirst as opposed to the previous altercation, because that high ground is so significant that you can probably see the floor inside that building. All right, well, the Villain Sir crew preparing for a face-off against Stronger Esports. Kim Tony firing away and does secure the takedown. I believe it was him. Yep. And it is going to be a push. No. Kim Tony is going to use this opportunity for a wide flank rotation, but I'm not sure if he knows about the whereabouts of the remainder of his opposition. We're about to find out. If he gets knocked in the next few seconds, we'll know that he didn't. Meanwhile, Undergang and I-8 preparing for an altercation on the eastern portion just outside the safe zone. This new zone has shifted and alleviated a lot of that pressure from the water occupancy. Only a little sliver of water remains, but not a lot of compound cover to choose from outside of the Rozhok and Zarki regions. Octopus dishing out some high ground overwatch, putting a couple bullets outward, but swallowing a lot more bullets in return than he's able to dish out. Down to half health, he's going to pull a wide flank rotation, still getting closer to the opposition and Undergang. Going to try to quickly heal up before probably cooking up some nades. All right. Well, Spike gonna grab that first aid while he can. Utilize what resources come by. Igneous looks like he wanted to contest with members of I-8 for that high ground, and unfortunately, I-8 may have gotten there just a little bit faster, and in this hilltop battle, they definitely outnumber him. So I don't think that high ground advantage is going to really favor Undergang in this position unless they can get the elimination on I-8 first. Well, meanwhile, MS Star putting in some heavy work and securing yet another elimination on the board. Undergang, as I said, playing a bit more reserved up to this point. Now we've passed that halfway mark, and placement points are soon to come. Once we reach around that
about 8 teams remaining is when those top placing points really kick into effect. So the participants just need to play reserved for just a little while longer. But oof, the snake has had its head cut off as Viper is taken down at the hands of Undergang. Jimmy on top of the roof swallowing bullet damage from I-8's Admiral, but getting enough cover to where Jimmy can heal up. Well, the octopus has had all the tentacles cut off. Domain and Admiral remain for I-8. Viper is still knocked. That snake cannot slither if he is knocked. God, these dad jokes are so cringy, but I can't stop them. All right, well, we've got members of Villain Sir pretty far out on the eastern portion of the map with a good bit of distance to travel westbound to get into this newly shifted safe zone. And if so, they are going to have to worry about members of Deadeyes who already hold that coastal edge of the safe zone. Well, looks like Deadeyes might have to engage with CMF in the process. Yep, it looks to be the case. And here we see it. Nades are cooking, and it looks good. No, it bounced off the very edge of that bunker. Just barely missing the mark, but Electro retaliating with some significant damage and quickly shifting to the DBS. Can he do it? He pulls off a 1v2 against the first place holders in Deadeyes and quickly securing the thirst. This is exactly what Deadeyes did not want to happen, but give credit to Deadeyes. They did not put all their eggs in one basket. They did not push as a full 4-piece. And it really is a good thing in this case, because if they had and had all been eliminated, that would have done all the undone all the progress that they had made in round 3. So currently, you know, Deadeyes as a 2-piece still holding on to that first place positioning. I'm not sure how many eliminations they've got. Let's have a look. The Deadeyes guys only have 1 elim. That's not going to be very significant help here in keeping that gap. But oh my goodness, Machine just with faster reflexes than Reflex, getting a quick takedown, making that vehicle burn, and he is not fooled for a second. The other member of TMT using that, I guess it's about a 2-year-old water glitch where you can shoot from the passenger side seat underwater, but Machine not taking the bait, not giving that opportunity, and actually still dishing out successful shots. And just like that, Machine made quick work of the last member of TMT. I'm not sure if he was able to secure that thirst, though. I haven't seen it in the kill feed. Admiral taken down very quickly by Funk, and that's going to put all the pressure on the final I-8 member, Domain. Domain making his great escape, a risky vehicle rotation inbound, but stops outside in the dead zone because he sees opposition kind of gatekeeping, and this is a very bad position for him to be in. Well, speaking of bad positions, Funk finds himself in a funk as he is knocked to the dead zone. Remember what I said, ladies and gentlemen. I don't care if you're a pro level or not. Nobody has a higher KD than that blue zone. And that's going to bring them down to a solo. Meanwhile, OG putting in some quick work. Arrow from Raw Esports keeping the opposition of, oh, it looks to be Inimical Monk held off at bay. We got Rafi here holding position underwater, and he does get the takedown on a Robbie and sinks from underwater. Boy, that glitch, you know, I can't even say it's a glitch anymore. It's been around so long. A lot of people, you know, have mixed opinions about it, but to argue against the effectiveness of it is almost hopeless. It paid off in spades this time. Well, Spike fell into his own spike trap as he is eliminated right then and there by Raw Esports, who has no time to celebrate as they engage from a low ground disadvantage with members of Villain Sir Esports. And this is going to be interesting to see Unda pull a vehicle rotation. He's still focused in on Villain Sir, but he's going to have to remember they are not the only teams here. They've got an outlying team not far off that could get a third angle, third-party kill steal quite easily if the field is as open as I think it is. Arrow firing cautiously across the way with that 3x M4, but not getting a lick of connecting damage there. All right, Unda keeping the pressure on the high ground holders of Villain Sir, but still, no bullet damage implemented. He still has plenty of ammo in the reserves. 263,556 is more than enough to afford a couple warning shots. Well, we had another elimination on the board, and ladies and gentlemen, just like that, we are down to our final 6 teams spread across final 6 teams spread across 15 participants, pardon me. And it looks like we've got Electro as the final hope here for CMF, and at a low ground disadvantage against somebody here. It looks probably against Villain Sir, who outnumbers, outmans, outguns, and outpositions him. But you know, Rafi, with this underwater positioning here, we saw him make great use of it before with the 2 kill thirsts, and it looks like he's keeping up that momentum. Sakura with a monster utility, getting a quick takedown on Arrow of Raw Esports, and it looks like it's going to be a close quarter combat altercation of utilities between Villain Sir and Raw. And look, Sakura turns into a bowling pin, just ran right over. Jamie tries to fight back, but Electro as a solo does get the kill steal right then and there. You know, Raw is upset about that kill steal, but they do find themselves in a position where they have to, you know, there's no time to kick their feet. They still have to worry about Electro, who's wasting no time, making it rain a hellfire of utilities, but the high ground holder in Raw Esports shows that positioning means a lot come in game. Arrow utilizing that high ground and getting a thirst. So, down to 4 teams spread across 9 players. We got the Deadeyes guys still in the equation. Now, keep in mind, Deadeyes entering the match in first place with a 3-point lead over second. The fact that they made it to the end game here, they got the top 4 positioning. Even if they didn't have a single elimination to their name, they got some significant points on the board just from the placement alone. But I expect that this is where we're going to see them thrive. Maybe getting a nice third-party kill steal. Well, it would be tough to from that positioning. Deadeyes finds themselves very vulnerable to Arrow's positioning, but it's actually going to be Sanchir of Raw Esports who gets the knock on Precious. That's going to leave 1 member of Deadeyes guys remaining. Only 1 Deadeye still open. Orbit. This could be Deadeye's saving grace. If Orbit pushes forward onto this, Viking Astad has to focus in on him. He gets a member of Viking Astad down. This could be the big break that Deadeyes needed. And I withdraw my previous statement, as the final hope for Deadeyes is just swimming, and Rafi is doing a little bit of the same. Inimical Monk, a sneaky water snake. Claw able to heal up here, but swallowing a little bit of damage right then and there. That blue zone being fairly relentless onto him. And he only has 1 first aid remaining, so time is of the essence, and especially considering how Raw Esports has the high ground positioning, this is almost like shooting fish in a barrel. Rafi, look at that. Only experience can teach you those little places to go where you can get up against the pillar of the bridge to heal up. Yeah, that only comes with experience. Rafi still left to just swallow that grenade, and now just like that, it is an outnumbered scenario. Raw Esports with a raw performance there, eliminating the high ground and first place holders in Deadeyes, and a monstrous performance, taking that gold medal chicken dinner on the tip of their tongue finish. Very impressive work. But even alongside that, not to take any of the attention away from Raw Esports, but just how well Deadeyes was able to adapt their play style in the moment and maintain that lead even as a 2-person team. But let's look at the MVP for round 4. It's going to go to Undergang Spike, who put up 4 eliminations spread out across 769 damage. Interesting to see how much less damage and eliminations we had for our average compared to our first Erangel match of the day. What does that tell me? It tells me that players are really holding their breath as we reach the ending portion of the day. They're playing much more reserved. Now, the most damage, 769 versus what was somewhere along 1,200 damage for round one for the average highest. Spike still holding on to first with 769. Second place going to Raw Esports' Arrow with 629. And third going to... I'm sorry, I believe this actually might be Raw Esports as well. I could be wrong. Orbit with 619 points. Very, very impressive performances all around. But I will say, a little bit more reserved gameplay across the board for round 4 in comparison with round 1. But hey, let's take a look. Raw putting up a great performance and 23 points total on the board. Unmatched by anyone else here on the playing field. Literally almost tripling second place's Deadeye's point mission here. Now, this is really interesting because Deadeyes, who performed so aggressively last match, as I said, how are they going to adjust their gameplay moving into round 4? They've already got that 3-point lead. Well, they dialed it back big time and only put up 8 points, meaning that almost all their points came from placement alone. They only had 2 elims to their name. And I&M in third place, boasting an equal 8 points, and realistically only one more elimination on the board. All the elims really seem to go to Raw, and past that, the only really high elimination points we see start around 6th place with VS. And at that point, VS is so down in the placement point bracket that it's really not that significant of a point gain for them. Well, let's have a look at the MVPs for round 4. Look at this, ladies and gentlemen. Klosser, MVP, I believe multiple times now, but this can't be right. So this must be for the overall for the day, now boasting 2,000 damage and 15 elims to his name so far today. And that is a significant point and elimination lead over the second place holder in CMF Electro, who has 1,716 points spread across 10 elims. We got 90 Degree here with almost 1,600 damage spread across 8 elims, meaning that for every thirst he gets, he's getting on average about 2 knocks. And same to be said for Xephos, a little bit better of an average, but 8 elims across 1,700 damage. Great work on all their ends. But what does this mean for the overall rankings? Oh my goodness, ladies and gentlemen. Deadeyes still holding on to the lead, showing that even though they weren't able to put up but 2 eliminations in the last match, getting those placement points after such a phenomenally aggressive performance in round 3, it was just enough to keep their little bit of a lead here in first place. They're only 8 points ahead of CMF, who actually is tied with Seal for second and third. Ladies and gentlemen, remember the structure of this event. Of all these teams competing today, only the top 3 are going to advance to the grand finals. So seeing CMF and Seal tied for second, it's got to be confusing the heck out of Raw and OG, and MS for that matter, who are literally only separated by 2 meager points. We have got a pretty close contestation here for who's going to advance spread across our top 6 teams. I think we can say with a pretty high certainty that Deadeyes probably has the advancement in the bag, but hey, crazier upsets have happened, and only one match remains ahead of us, ladies and gentlemen. Only 30 minutes of action separate our participants from who's going to advance. It's going to all come down to this, the devastation in the desert as we return for round 5 of 5. In just a few short moments of the 8R Stars Cup Battle of the Regions group stage finals for South Asia in just a few short moments. Stick around, guys. We'll be back soon. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, sorry about that. We are back with our fifth and final match of the day for the 8R Stars Cup Battle of the Regions group stage finals for South Asia. But do let me stand corrected. I apologize for any misinformation, as this group stage is actually a 3-day event on its own. So we still have 2 more days laying ahead of us in these group stages. I apologize for the misinterpretation before. But as we move in to our 5th and final match of the day, it is one more chance at Miramar, the devastation in the desert. It's going to get a bit sandy, but what is so special about Miramar? It is the largest map in PUBG Mobile. Now, technically, Erangel is also an 8x8, but that really favors Erangel's bodies of water. So realistically, Miramar is the largest map that we're going to be working with, meaning that the odds of 2 teams landing next to each other is going to be a bit slimmer, and especially with this almost perfectly centralized flight path, it leaves for a higher possibility of the slower early to mid game. But that is not all that you need to worry about in Miramar. As it is such an open map, you need to be on high alert of not just your immediate surroundings, but your distant surroundings as well. This is a very, very sniper intensive map. And third and final thing I want to say about Miramar is that its map is so large. I may have said this in round 2, but it's such a large map that it's very heavily weighted upon the flight path to determine what sort of early game we end up getting, which is why I am a bit speculative of a slower start for round 5, especially given that it is the final match of the day. Already, we're getting some early jumpers. The SEALs have traveled northbound to La Cobreria, where they will be uncontested, and Corrido being an outlier to provide a little scouting information to the southbound threat in MS Star. We've got OG holding the most western portion of the map, going as far west as the map will even allow, but finding that that's going to be a higher likelihood of them being outside of the zone. We'll have to wait and see where the initial zone shifts, but that's playing a lot of cards in the chance and gamble aspect of the game. But MS Star and OG could be preparing for a face-off. Same can be said for I8 and INM. Meanwhile, the Deadeyes guys dropping on into action. Now, this is not exactly the start to the final match of the day that I expected for Deadeyes. I don't think that they were hoping for an early match altercation either. Even though they hold an 8-point lead over second place, this could undo everything that they've done if they are eliminated this early on. Well, Precious coming in with a DBS already in hand. Arabi, one final hope for INM, and look at that. The Deadeyes close the eyes of their opponents, and just like that, really in their comfort zone, and got their first 4 kills of the game. Stronger Esports, proving that they are stronger than the opposition, and some quick thirst to follow. Look at that. Deadshot keeping the pressure on his opposition, who tries to retreat downstairs but is chased by a grenade. Spike trying to retaliate with a nade of his own through the window. Looks a bit undercooked, unfortunately, giving the opposition a little time to escape the explosion from it. Tom trying to get an easy takedown, but well, that looked like he was a little late on the spray. I think that might have just been a spectator glitch, because the bullets were landing for sure, taking his opponent down to just above half health. Not enough to seal the job, though. So we got ourselves a 4v3 scenario here against Undergang. And Fab 4 having at it with Raw Esports. It looks like there has been a knock on one of the members of Raw, Sleepy, hoping not to go to that internal sleep. Zordy, it's definitely taken down right then and there. That's going to leave only an intro here for Fab 4, separate team, facing off. Now back to Raw Esports. With Zordy down, it's going to put Assassin as the final hope here for his team. But he does dish out some significant damage to one of the Fab 4, not enough to stop him from healing. But MVP only HMVP here, the most immediate threat for Assassin, and he does not have a very viable escape route here, so not a lot of options, not really any meds after this boost. So he's done everything he can to account for his health, aside from maybe going to that soda machine and seeing if it'll give him one. TMT working on some clanmates in the distance. RZE taken down. Assassin making his final stand here with a Tommy gun on its last clip. 42 bullets separating him from life and death. All the shots missing from both players here, but Assassin is able to secure it. He's got enough bullets left over to secure the thirst and get the resources from the thirst. And just like that, finds himself, well, not much better off, as now he only got about 35 bullets of 45 out of that. Riding double 45 weaponry here, and only half a clip, less than half a clip in the UMP. And, well, a Tommy gun is great, but a Tommy gun, when you're 2 feet away from an S12, it's not going to do the trick. And just like that, the Fab 4 secure their first 4 eliminations and will carry on as the Fab 2. Off in the distance, MS Star lost a member early on. Tabby is taken down to the prone zone and sent back to lobby to follow suit. Getting still here on Fab 4, we got Intro just going into the casino. We saw that this is a gambling team after all. They made a pretty risky early on altercation. Did lose half their members in the process, but how fitting. They came out successful, but it was a gamble, and it didn't come without paying a pretty hefty price. Well, Undergang gonna try to secure a revive on Igneous. Jimmy securing them, playing Medman, while Spike tries to provide overwatch and cover fire, but oof, Spike with an over-under 6.86 shotgun, not a very forgiving shotgun. It only will give you 2 shots per clip, so that's no room for error, really. And that nade from Spike was a bit overcooked. He got a little too Martha Stewart on that one. All right. And I was going to say that with an M4 as his secondary weapon here, I guess I should say primary, I was a little bit curious as to why he wouldn't have that out, but I get it. If he's confident in his shots, which did not pan out so well for him this time. Undergang is underperformed in this last match of the day, and MS going to carry on. Now look at this. Star carrying on as a 2-person team with 4 elims, not unlike a previously mentioned team, but finding themselves with an opportunity to get some good loot. All right, catching eyes on other Raw members. We got Orbit pulling an every man for himself vehicle rotation alongside his teammates and migrating to a new positioning in zone. Now, on a map as open as Miramar, good prime real estate, good high ground, and Overwatch can be all that more advantageous, even more so than on any other map, as it's so open. If you get the highest ground on a safe zone, you can have upwards of a 360-degree Overwatch, meaning you can account for everyone around you. And if you're at the highest level of elevation on top of the mesa, no one can fire back. All they can do is maybe get a knock, but once you're knocked from that hilltop, you're out of the line of sight. Well, Raw's Arrow doing some work here on I&M, securing a knock right then and there. That's going to put Glock in a world of hurt here with the rest of Raw Esports. And we're hearing those bullets in the distance. Glock preparing as a swarm of Raw Esports members swarms upon him like mosquitoes in a North Carolina summer. And look at that, the molly, the preemptive molly to take him down to just above half health. Talk about Raw making the most of everything. Even when they have the numbers so much in their favor that they could aggressively push, they still don't waste an opportunity for a good utility. Speaking of a good utility, Glock not wasting an opportunity to even the odds. That nade doing significant damage, and the mollies to keep the opposition from passing through that doorway. Very, very smart gameplay strategy here on Glock's end, especially as a solo at this point. Now, keep in mind, Glock isn't technically alone. He just was reunited by a teammate now. Up until now, he has been kind of dealing with this swarm of Raw Esports members on his own. Now, finally, a little assistance comes in the shape and form of Rafi, as well as having Gyro off in the distance to provide the overwatch, cover fire, and scouting info for the remainder of the team. Glock swallowing that nade damage, taken down to just above half health, and finding himself with only... Oh, he's got some first aids. I don't know why he was trying to bandage. There we go. First aid is starting to be implemented. Rafi dodging that nade by the hair on his chin. Almost knocked, but got behind the crate just in time, and then got caster cursed by me. Rafi, caster cursed all the way down to the prone zone. Gets knocked, and now Glock in a 1v1 in this close quarter fight here. 1v3, I apologize. Raw Esports pushing forward with Arrow and Unda there. So I guess it was a 1v2 altercation at that point. Still, you know, Raw Esports had him outnumbered, outmanned, and outgunned. So give him credit where credit is due. Raw really not wasting any opportunity to make the most of a push. All right. The zone is closing in just a few seconds, and there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be a shift any moment now. Meanwhile, the Fab 4 swallowing bullets from high voltage. And speaking of high voltage, you know, they are pretty high up in elevation as well. Getting that high ground in Overwatch, as I was saying, could be a pivotal difference maker between scoring high eliminations this game and not. And as you can see, that Overwatch gave him a lot of line of sight on the low ground holders in Fab 4, and that brings it all down to Intro, the final hope for the team. And he's just trying his best not to get zapped by the opposition in high voltage, but in even retaliating fire by shooting back against these guys. I don't think that there's any advantage or any benefit to Intro fighting back. This is not a fight he should be taking on. There's no way for him to secure the thirst if he knocks it on high voltage. With them having the very top crest of that hill, slash mountain, the second, even if Intro is able to secure a knock, they will immediately be out of the line of sight for him. And the only way to secure that thirst would be an aggressive vehicle push forward, and when he got there, he would be outnumbered and outmanned. So why would he retaliate? Well, that's easy for us to say with the Spectator 2020 vision, you know? Not everyone is afforded such a luxury. And TMT is preparing to face off against Villain Sir, as Fear, probably a little bit afraid himself, swallowing a lot of damage there, brought down to just above half health. But look at this geographical cover in the smallest location possible. This little 4-foot divot is all that Fear needs to block himself from bullet range. But it won't block you from a nade if that does crash down upon you. Off in the distance, the Deadeyes, boys. One of those Deadeyes got shut for an eternal sleep. Now Fear down, leaving it relying on XO and Kokum. XO trying to enshroud himself in a pool of smoke. And honestly, for a late Miramar endgame, those smokes can be the absolute difference maker between a chicken dinner and not. XO trying to prioritize that revive on Kokum, but look at Villainster with that off angle, and it looks like CMF and Villainster unintentionally teamed up to sandwich in the opposition and finish him off. Now look, CMF cursed knocked in the altercation, but quick to be revived by Electro here, leaving 90 Degree and 6ix9ine in charge of Overwatch and cover fire. In the process, 6ix9ine is knocked and thirsted. Amison and the Ooh, this is a great positioning by the Seals, a great high ground. Now talk about a potential altercation. CMF and Villainser just right next to each other here. Only a few feet separating each other, but that hill crest dividing their line of sight. So it's a battle of sound for a moment. Now Jamie can hear that vehicle and knows this might be the chance to aggress on him. And he does try, but what he wasn't accounting for was 90 degree to be hanging back outside the vehicle. It's a trap, so to speak, and 90 degree capitalized. Cursed, taking down Jamie in retaliation. And look at this, Amison shuts the Clawser down. Sakura taking Cursed down with a nade. It is all-out bloodbath warfare here in this later stage Miramar match, but we still have 9 teams up. It's like it was a very end stage game right now. I mean, it is just non-stop action. Kim Tony taken down. That's going to bring his teammates in Villainser down to a 2-piece, who are desperately going to try to secure a revive, but here comes that push from the likes of ZC. Oh my goodness, Levy shooting from mid-air with the DBS does secure the takedown. Looks like Kim Tony retaliates onto Levy, and that's going to put ZC in a 3v1 against Villainser's Makari's. Makari's making his final stand with a 3x M4 and does secure the knock onto TXRX. Oof, the problem I have with this is that there's so much distance between him and ZC, who outnumbers him 3-1. Even now, that knock that he got is not like to be resulting in a thirst unless he had a push forward and maybe a utility. And as we saw it, the revive was implemented, so Markeries, that knock is basically undone now. All that progress is undone. All right, well, Sexa swallowing a huge load of damage there, brought down to just above 10% health, and Markeries could have probably gotten a thirst or a knock there with that nade, but a little off the mark there. Swallowing a lot more bullets than he's able to dish out, and finding himself swarmed upon by CC, outnumbered, outmanned, outgunned, and that's it for Villainser Esports, eliminated in 8th place. But at the very least, they did make the bracket for getting those placement points. So now is where the aggression really kicks up a notch. Everyone remaining here on the playing field has made it towards the placement point payout. So here's where I expect the teams who have been playing more reserved this match up until now to start kicking up the spiciness just a notch, playing a little bit more aggressive and trying to secure some eliminations. Raw Esports has been playing pretty solid and consistently this whole match, with 4 elims already to their name, half of which belong to Arrow, and still carrying on as a full 4-person team. Remember what I said in round 1, it stands to be the said in every single match. You cannot place enough emphasis on being a full 4-person team come in-game. It can and often is the difference maker between a chicken dinner and, let's say, a 2nd, 3rd, or even 4th place finish. Now, even though I said that it could be a possible kick-up in the spicy altercations, it's still Miramar, so you have to wait and see. It's such an open playing field that no one is too eager to rotate or make any quick moves. And Sanchir capitalizing with that high ground in perfect form, securing 2 knocks on high voltage, and this is Raw Esports' chance to capitalize, and they're not going to waste a single second. Unda on a quick vehicle, aggressive push forward, gonna try to close that gap between himself and the remainder of high voltage. Sitara holding the low ground, but compound cover, keeping the pressure on Raw as he fires away from that building cover. Star not in great positioning there, bleeding out quick. Sitara swallowing bullets, just digesting that damage, and brought down to 5% health. Luckily, he did have a first aid at the ready and a little bit of time to implement it, but Sanchir cooking up a near and now does not hit the mark. And even though it doesn't, it sure sets ablaze the area behind him, and Sitara backs into the fire as a knocked participant turning himself into a burning candle. Well, Rafat and other members of ZC with the aggressive push on Viking Astad. And it looks like it's going to be Zhang Chen with the off-angle distance shots to assist his fallen teammate here. And now here we have it, an aggressive push forward on a very weakened high ground holding Rafat of ZC. And luckily, ZC was not down to a solo at all. They had TT XRX holding that off angle, low ground as it may be. It was all that was needed to assist and secure that thirst, even the odds a bit. And it looks like they'll be able to get the revive on Levy as well. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are down to 5 teams spread across only 15 participants here. This is the final in-game of the final match of the day, ladies and gentlemen. It all comes down to this brief few minutes to decide who is going to win round 5 of 5 of the PUBG Mobile 8R Stars Cup Battle of the Regions for South Asia. Orbit and Arrow getting, I think, different angles of sight here on I-8. It looks to be a 2-1 split. So one of the members of Raw holding that off angle and getting a separate line of sight. I like that. And I also still like the congestion between Arrow and between Sanchir and Orbit. At least there's some assistance possible if Orbit or Sanchir are knocked. That luxury can't go to Sanchir, but he seems pretty comfortable on his own as he secures a distance takedown with a 3x M4. All right, just like that. 6 elims to Raw Esports, and half of them go to Sanchir alone. 5 of the team's 6 kills between Arrow and Sanchir alone. Orbit trying to orbit around the opponent in I-8, firing away, keeping the pressure on Viper. But Viper is able to get that vehicle, pull a wide flank rotation behind the hill. Again, utilize the geography. Orbit not keeping his eyes, well, he's not honing in his eyes too much on members of I-8. He's keeping a full surveillance, checking the areas behind him, not finding any immediate threat. We got Seal Esports' Corrido holding position, and you got to give him credit. Keeping that vehicle around for a late-stage Miramar game can also be the difference maker between life and death. When geographical cover isn't afforded, those vehicles can be your only cover. You know, that can be sometimes all that you have, separating you from 3 angles of fire on an opposition, but sometimes it's all you need. Now, we got Wanted here of MS Star, just maintaining position on the sniper tower and preparing for this next zone shift. I-8 Domain pulled that flank rotation, but he has no idea about Wanted's position, I don't think, because he finds himself in a line of fire. Wanted's hesitation to shoot is understandable because the remainder of I-8 hangs off to his right, and that's a 3-1 split. Meaning this could also be a trap onto Wanted, meaning Domain could be bait. And, well, just like that, if it is bait, Wanted took the bait. Luckily, he's got a little bit of wall cover here on his right side to basically render the remainder of I-8 useless unless they push forward. All right, well, an octopus in the desert. It seems out of his element, but he's doing well. Star Wanted, just swallowing that bullet damage from I-8. Remember what I said about that 3-1 split? The second Wanted shoots at Domain, he basically sent out a honing beam for the remainder of I-8, giving his location up. And here, look at this. They capitalize as Admiral and Octopus just swarm upon him. Easy takedowns, but as they try to loot their victory there, they're swallowing some warning shots from Seal. Zipo's actually getting a lot of connecting damage onto Admiral, who's taken down to about 15% of his health. Luckily, he's able to go prone and heal up. Corrido trying to find a high ground overwatch over someone. However, What he doesn't know is that there doesn't seem to be anyone nearby in that direction. Orbit pulling a nice little flank rotation, and the problem I have with this area is it's kind of a tricky situation. Yes, you have cover, but not a lot of accountability in terms of wiggle room. So yeah, you've got cover as long as the zone shifts around you and your opponents stay exactly where they are. But if your opponents can get a flank rotation around you, that puts you into a world of hurt. Those hay bales can only cover you from one of two teams if they lie on opposite ends. All right, well, Corrido, you know, honestly, in the spirit of dad jokes, a seal and an octopus in the desert, neither are seen in their element, but they're playing like they are. Corrido just annihilating, putting an onslaught of damage out, and just like that, Zepho's able to finish the job. Corrido with no health, two takedowns! Oh my goodness, I thought Corrido was responsible for both of those for a second with literally no health. Luckily, he had Amison and Zephos there to dish out a ton of damage as well, and looks like they're the ones who got the finishes. Amison firing away from the rooftop, trying to get some damage on to Raw, but can't forget about members of ZC off to the side. Ladies and gentlemen, we're down to 3 teams spread across 9 participants. We got a fair fight to end our 5th and final match of the day, a 3v3v3. Let's get ready to rumble for the devastation in the desert Miramar endgame. All right. This is where a single split-second mistake could cost you and your whole team. Levy, aimed outwards, M43X at the ready, trying to catch a line of sight on Amison of Seal, not getting a lick of connecting damage. Zephos swallows some bullets, but not enough to finish the job. Zephos very closely almost knocked, but able to heal up and account for it and retaliate with a knock of his own instead. Talk about performing under pressure and trying to get a distance nade. If one of these connects, wow. Well, Orbit taking down Mason of Seal, and that's going to put Corrido in charge of a little bit of medic duty, meaning Zephos in charge of overwatch and cover fire. Needs to keep the opposition and ZC and Raw Esports held off at bay. Lucky for him, ZC has a revive of their own that they had to prioritize, but that doesn't account for Raw Esports. All right, Amison preparing for a vehicle rotation, or maybe just getting he's just getting the vehicle out of the line of sight, keeping it as potential cover in case they need it later. Arrow swallowing the damage and brought down to prone zone. He is knocked right there, and then it will be a tough revive if Sancher's able to do it. The only way I could see Sancher able to successfully get a revive from here is if he smokes his teammate and then Seal and ZC focus in on each other rather than finishing off Raw. Other than that, it seems like a pretty bleak hope. But hey, we saw Sancher clutch it in a previous match today. Believe he pulled off what looked almost to be a 1v3. So you can't rule anyone out just yet. And hey, give him credit where credit is due. Sancher was responsible for half of his team's kills, but ultimately the caster curse is real as Corrido zooms in and nails him down to the ground with that 4x M4 combo, leaving Levy as the final hope, and the deed is done. Just like that, ladies and gentlemen, we have our winners. What a in-game performance. Honestly, what a phenomenal second half of the match in general, but give credit where credit is due. Seal Esports putting up a phenomenal performance and getting that first place gold medal finish to end the day. And look at the MVP. We were just watching him, Carrito, who struck the final blow of the day, putting up 8 eliminations spread out across almost 1,200 damage. So that's a pretty good elimination to damage turnover. I think that's a pretty fair one. And look, only healed for 127, meaning that he had about 1 first aid and maybe 3 bandages worth of healing that entire match, and put out over 11 knocks worth of damage on his own. Give credit to Raw Esports' Sanchi, who put up 1,051 points as well. Very impressive performance on his end, and also not far behind, 90 points behind him, is Rifat of ZC, putting up 961. All three, anytime you can get to the 4-digit mark of damage, you're dealing with a high-performing pro player most of the time. That was a very, very impressive in-game performance. And what a better way to conclude the day for Team Seal. Honestly, they are going to end the day with that momentum and that confidence factor in full effect, meaning that they're going to come in tomorrow with a little bit of confidence. And look at that, 25 points from round 5 alone. You can understand why the confidence is there. Out of curiosity, where did Deadeyes place? 8th. They only got 4 points total, and it looks like all 4 of those points came from eliminations. They just barely missed that placement bracket for placement points. So ultimately, Deadeyes, who had secured that 8-point lead, we're going to see that lead get a little bit tighter as the Seals start closing the gap with this 25-point gainer right here. Having a look at the MVP rankings for match 5, no surprise here. Carrito for 14 elims today and almost bordering on 3,000 damage. That is unbelievable. To put it in perspective, he's put up a massive number of elims, but even still, for every elimination, he's got over 2 knocks worth of damage for every thirst he gets. Let's have a look at Closser. Now, this is a even more impressive ratio. While he's got 700 less damage, look at the ratio. 15 elims means that he's getting a lot more thirsts on the knocks that he's getting. Now, Sanchi putting up 11 elims, still putting up monstrous loads of damage. Literally all 4 MVPs breaking the 2,000 point damage bracket for the day. Unbelievable performance across the board. Phenomenal performances by all our participants. And what a great way to kick off the group stage finals, for the 8R Stars Cup. This is just day 1 of 3. We've got 10 more matches ahead of us to decide who's going to advance to place in the top 3 and go on to the grand finals. Look at the overall rankings. The Seals have done it. They have surpassed the Deadeyes. The Eyes got shut from that gold medal position and closed into 2nd. Got silver. They have the side of silver in their eyes. With 54 points, finding themselves in a 13-point deficit behind first place, but still a fairly comfortable 9-point lead above 3rd, held by CMF. Now, if you're Raw Esports, you are not far behind the placement bracket, so you know that you're going to be feeling a pretty high level of nerves and pressure coming in tomorrow. So I expect them to be, accounting for that, probably playing a bit more reserved for, let's say, maybe even the first 2 to 3 matches of the day. After that point, there's not going to be a lot of room for passive or reserved gameplay. But here we have it, guys. Only one team able to pull up the 2 dubs. Only 2 chicken dinners go to Team Seal. After that, it's pretty evenly dispersed. CMF getting a match, Deadeyes getting a match, and Raw getting a match. And we see that all pretty accurately reflected in our top 4 standings. Well, ladies and gentlemen, before you head out, don't forget to follow the 8R organization on all social media platforms. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel here on YouTube, and follow on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter as well. Also, please don't forget to download the METAGOOGOL app for Android and iOS. The QR code is on the bottom right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it has been an absolute honor and a pleasure getting to commentate the first day of this group stage here for the 8R Stars Cup Regional South Asia Finals. I mean, honestly, as I said at the beginning of the day, the level of skill is just on a different bracket. These regions are performing at an exceptionally high professional level, and it can be seen in the point dispersion and looking at the use of utilities alone. Just phenomenal level gameplay, and I could not have had a better time. Thank you so much for allowing me to commentate, and thank you for to the 8R organization for allowing me to be a part of the commentary for today, and huge nod to them for giving me a huge break in my commentary career several years back. One of my first bigger events that I commentated, so I was especially happy when it came for full circle and they asked me to commentate for today. Now, I probably won't be here for the future days of the group finals, but I will probably be stopping by in chat to check in on the action. And I know that I'll be seeing you guys in the chat on the upcoming days for the group finals. We still have 10 more matches ahead to decide who are going to be the top 3 teams advancing. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Red Eyes Casting. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter, redeyes_casting. On all other streaming platforms, that's just Red Eyes Casting, no underscore. Anyways, it's been an honor and pleasure. And until next time, this has been the 8R Stars Cup Battle of the Regions Regional Finals for South Asia. Have a good one, guys.